Do you ever wonder exactly what you should be looking for in a guy when you meet him? Isn't it confusing to figure out exactly what you should be paying attention to with all of these different rules and regulations? Well, what if I told you the signs could be a lot more obvious if you just knew the only things that are important for you to pay attention to? If you want to learn what those signs are, then join me on today's show where we're going to be discussing why you should never date any man without these key and important green flags. That way, the only men that get your time in the future are men who are prepared and ready to have a long-term serious relationship with you. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and actively participating. Welcome to the show. It dawned upon me as I got started with this show that I missed a great opportunity to wear a green shirt and be in the green flag era of the whole point of the show. But it's okay. How are you guys all doing here today? So good to see you. So good to spend this amazing time with you. We got in the chat. So we got Yo-Yo here, Dragonfly here, Messina here, Trish is here, Mimi is here. Let me see. We have Angela here and our, did I see Go Plants earlier? I don't know if I saw her in the TikTok chat. Maybe she's not here. She's usually always here. Welcome all you beautiful people in the TikTok chat. And I see one of our moderators here, Scotty. I'm assuming Sharice and SH are going to be here as well. Who we got over in the YouTube chat? I see Mary Kim here, Hallow here. I see Nora here, Simply here. I see LP Baby is here. Andrea is here. I see some of our channel members. Olga is here. Henya is here, one of our channel members. Cece is here, another one of our channel members. I'm pretty sure Tracy Niles is here as one of our channel members early. She's usually always here. I usually always see her. And of course, we have Missy America holding down our YouTube chat. All right, let's get started with green flags today because we do talk about how to filter men, but the other side of understanding what you're not looking for is also understanding what you are looking for. So we're going to go through some green flags, and trust me, in the future, we're going to do lots and lots of shows on all these different qualities that I want you paying attention to that are also very positive and very good. So I'm going to attempt to talk about some things that you might not have heard before, okay? So we're going to start off with this concept. Okay, so point number one is about staying power. Now, I'm going to draw you out a little bit of a visual so that you can understand what I mean by staying power. So in this visual, I'm going to draw two different versions of a guy so that you can understand what I mean by this and why this works the way that it does, okay? So up there we have guy number one, and up here we have guy number two, okay? So what I want to kind of describe to you, and I want to kind of help you understand, is what staying power is, how to identify it, and why it's important. So let's imagine a guy number one who he has had in the process of his life. He has only had in the past 5 years one job, okay? And at this one job, he went from being entry level to being a manager. To being a, let's just say, director, right? And in this 5-year span, we'll put here 5 years. Fit this properly. I want this to look nice. 5 years. Right? In this 5-year span, let's say guy number one has only had one job and he's been able to work his way up the ladder throughout this process. He started off entry level, then after a couple of years, he went to a manager position. Then after a couple of years, he went to the director position. This is what I describe as staying power. The reason I describe it as staying power is because this notes something very important about the guy that you're seeing and you're on a date with. An ability to be able to stick with something over the course of time and over the ebbs and flows that he will go through while being in this thing, right? When you're at a job, it's not always going to be amazing. It's not always going to be fun. Sometimes your boss is going to pee you off. Sometimes your coworkers are going to pee you off. Sometimes you're going to get extra work than you're supposed to. Sometimes people are going to stab you in the back, whatever the case may be. But the thing about it is the ability to stay with something, despite the fact that it gets difficult sometimes or it's frustrating sometimes, directly relates to your relationship. And I'm going to show you how by giving you another example of a different type of guy. All right. So let's say guy number 2, instead of having one job, has had 10 jobs. And each of these jobs, sometimes he'll be entry. Sometimes, he'll start off good, and let's say he gets fired. And sometimes he just gets frustrated and he quits. Okay. So the reason that I'm bringing this up is because this is a perfect example of the opposite of staying power, where someone finds it very difficult to push through anything. Every situation seems to be the wrong situation. Every circumstance seems to be the wrong circumstance. Every time he has to deal with something hard or difficult or frustrating and he has to work his way through it, he's like, I give up, or I'm not doing this, or I don't have time for this, right? And he brings an attitude like that to all of his jobs, which is why he's had to have multiple jobs in this 5 years. This tells you something about the guy that you're dating. Okay. And what I want for you is to identify the green flag in men who have an ability to stay with things. This can be related to his job, his career, his passions, his hobby, his friendships. Staying power is such an important green flag that will relate to your relationships because it shows you his ability to stay in something even when it's difficult. And your relationship will definitely get difficult at times. So you want someone who already has that skill set developed over the course of time in understanding, okay, I know that this will get rocky. I know that this will get a little bit difficult. I know it's not always going to be the fun, most best thing ever. But similar to a job, that's not going to be fun every day. Your relationship's not going to be the most fun every day. But understanding what your goals are, understanding what your purpose is, understanding why you're here in the first place and what you're trying to accomplish in the long term is very important in order to be able to stick with this thing for the long term. So you want a man who can do this. Does that make sense to all of you so far? Okay, right? Staying power. I don't think that's been discussed a lot. Very, very important, right? Because you don't just want a man who will date you for a couple of months and then get tired of you. You want a man who's actually able to work through things, all right? Now, let's hop into our point number 2. I'm going to draw it out first and then we will discuss, okay? Because when I put it on the board, it's probably not going to make much sense. Okay. Did I spell that right? I didn't spell it right. Let me spell this right, chat. Because I know the spell police gonna get on me. I don't want the spell police to get on me. All right, now let's hop into our number 2 point. I'm gonna draw it out real quick. Just give me a second, okay? So we have our man here. And I'm gonna show you a little bit of an interesting analogy. So point number 2 is about curiosity. Now you're probably wondering, why is curiosity a green flag? Why would I be purposely looking for a man who's curious? What does that really mean? See, curiosity is good for you because it helps you understand his character. And this type of character will be very beneficial for you in what you're looking for in a long-term serious relationship. Let me give you an example so you understand why this is important. Let's say you meet a guy and this guy is talking about the fact that, so you're on a date and he's talking about his life and he's saying, so I really always would see these millionaires and billionaires driving down Rodeo Drive with a Lamborghini, with a Ferrari, with a Rolls Royce. And I was always curious, how did they get the money to afford those cars? So, because I was curious, I started reading some books that talked about money and talked about how millionaires and billionaires build their wealth. I started watching some videos and interviews of millionaires talking about how they built their wealth and the ways that they did it and all the strategies that they used. And I realized that I need to be putting my energy in a few key places. I need to start investing in real estate. I realized I need to start investing in the stock market. Just giving you an example, right? So you're probably thinking, well, Tomisin, okay, why is this a good thing? Why is this a green flag? Because I want you to understand what has happened here. This man has been curious about an answer. I'm not in a particular position in my life. I want to get somewhere. I want to figure out how I can go from where I am to be where they are. And I want to understand what the process was to get there. That curiosity is what drove him to look for answers. And when he looked for answers, he found some. And now he's able to strategize and maneuver himself to be able to get to where they are simply because he started off being curious enough to try and understand how did they do that thing. If you don't have curiosity, then you don't have a desire to learn. If you don't have a desire to learn, you don't have a desire to grow. So this is a very important key element and key green flag to look for in men. If they're not curious about life, they're not curious about understanding themselves, then they're definitely not curious about understanding you. They're not curious about growing a relationship. They don't want to understand, how can I get better? How can I improve? Not just for myself, but also as a partner. How can I improve my relationships? How can things be better? How can things change and not be the same? People who don't have curiosity will never be interested in changing because they don't even think a change needs to be made. And they don't have the desire to search for answers or try different things in order to find those answers. And if your man in your relationship is not interested in finding any answers, to make any adjustments, because he has no curiosity in life in general, then you're going to be suffering in that relationship because you're going to be with a man who doesn't want to make any adjustments and doesn't want to look for any answers and doesn't know how to solve any problems. Because the first step to solving a problem is to be even curious why you're having the problem and be curious on how you could possibly fix it so that you don't have this same problem. If you don't have curiosity, then you don't have enough care or desire to do anything. It's I seen someone say it in the chat earlier. It's like a driving, motivating factor to take action. And what do you need in a man? You need a man who has the ability to take action. Does that make sense to all of you so far, right? Very, very, very important quality. I see you all shouting out some qualities that you think I'm going to talk about. What are some qualities some of y'all think I'm going to talk about? Let me know. Maybe I might get to it. Okay. All right. So curiosity was number 2. Now, let me get to number 3. Oh, is this number? Yeah, number 3 here. Okay. And super duper important. Oh boy, I have to put an emphasis on this. Okay. I'm going to draw this out and then we'll discuss. We're going to draw you better, okay? You got a bigger head because you got a bigger brain. Okay, there we go. That's looking good. There we go. Beautiful body of yours. Love it. Love it. I love it. Okay. So here's the thing, and I want you to take notice of this. Point number 3 is about empathy. Now, this is such an important green flag to identify in men for this specific reason. See, without empathy, you're going to struggle a lot in your relationship to be able to feel seen and feel heard. Let me put this in a visual for you. So let's kind of think of it like this. When your man has empathy, he's able to imagine what it's like to be with you, or not be with you, I should say, to be in your shoes, right? He's obviously with you. And because he's able to imagine what it's like to be in your shoes, you get to feel seen. So you might be asking, well, Tomisin, why is it important for me to feel seen? How is this even relevant? See, when you get into a relationship, you can't just think about your relationship as it exists in a vacuum, in a perfect state, where you're like, hey, things are great with me now, and things are great with him now. Everything's going to be great for the rest of our relationship. You also have to think of your relationships as they will exist when things are not so great. The reason I say this is because a man with empathy that is capable of putting himself in your shoes or anyone else's shoes to see their perspective is capable of actually solving and resolving conflict with you in a relationship and showing healthy signs towards building a healthy relationship, because he's able to say, despite me not feeling exactly how she does right now in this second, despite me not having the same hurt, despite me not feeling disrespected right now because it's me that disrespected her or hurt her, I can still put myself in her shoes, hear her story, feel her pain, and understand how to deal with her in a way that actually helps to solve the problem for her, to alleviate her pain, to not make her feel disrespected anymore, to take care of my woman. When you're not the person that is hurt, you actually have to have empathy towards the person that is hurt, even though you don't feel those feelings, even though that's not necessarily the truth that you're living in right now. And in order for you to do that, you have to have this skill set. So how's a way that you can identify this green flag when you're meeting men or you start dating them? Here's an example of that. Let's say you're at a dinner date restaurant thing. And when you're at this dinner date, the restaurant is really busy. Everything is helter-skelter. Clearly, they're understaffed. Clearly, everything is kind of like chaos in the kitchen. And let's say his meal comes and the waiter forgot his hot sauce because he requested hot sauce as part of his meal, let's just say. And you're like, oh, they forgot your hot sauce. And he says, oh, it's okay. When the waiter comes back, I'll call the waiter over. Clearly, he's sweating already, going about everything over here. He probably is already stressed out enough. I'll just make sure that when he comes back, I'll tell him that I wanted some hot sauce, right? That's an example of having empathy and being able to say, hey, yes, I want hot sauce. This is what I want in this moment. This is how I feel in this moment. However, just because I feel like this in this moment, that doesn't remove the fact that other people are experiencing things. Other people are going through things. I know what it's like to be stressed and be running around and be forgetful because of how stressed I am. So I understand what the waiter is going through at this current moment when the restaurant is super busy and it's understaffed. I'm able to have empathy for this waiter, despite the fact that he didn't get my order perfectly right. I know what it's like to be in his shoes. And when I put myself in his shoes, I can be forgiving of the situation at hand. That is exactly the type of empathy that you want to be able to recognize in a man that you're dating, because of the fact that it directly correlates to your ability to have successful relationship with him, but also, even more importantly, resolve conflict with him. If a man doesn't have empathy towards you and can't put himself in your shoes or anyone else's shoes outside of his own, you will be very frustrated in trying to resolve conflict because you'll find it like pulling teeth. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Blue says empathy needs to be there if absent run because of the dark devoid of empathy. Yeah, it gets very dark if a man doesn't have empathy. Okay. Let's hop into our point number 4. All righty. Empathy is so important. Okay. Now, this one, I know, I know some of you will object to this, and I know exactly why. Okay, let me draw this out, and we'll debate. It's okay, right? I know some of you will say, but But Thomason, what about this? What about that? What about this? Don't worry, we'll go get to it. Okay, so point number 4 is about friends and friendships. Now, the reason I'm saying this is a green flag is because you want to understand what you're actually taking from this sign. When someone has friends, and I'm not just talking about casual friends that people know him and know his name and know who he is, I'm talking about people in his life that he's actually close to that will actually vouch for him and his character. Yeah, John, he's kind of a character. He can be a little bit silly at times and tell a lot of off-color jokes, but he's one of those guys that when you're in a jam, you can count on him. Or he's one of those guys when it's time to get to work, he'll get to work and he'll be right by your side, right? You want to make sure. One of the green flags that you notice in a man is that he has at least a few solid friendships. People who will speak towards his character. And what you would ideally want is that all of those people in his life would speak towards his character in the same way. So what do I mean by that? They will all talk about him very, very similarly, right? They might even talk about his flaws similarly, but even that is good because what we're trying to see here, right, is how consistent of a person is he? Does everyone say very similar things about him, both good and bad? Because what that should tell you is that the person that you're meeting, especially if you're noticing a lot of those same signs or those same character traits, is consistent with the person that he is when he's away from you. It also will tell you a very important green flag that before you met him, before you ever got to meet him, before you ever discovered him or came upon him or sat on this date with him, that's the person that he was back then. So it becomes a lot more obvious to you, people who are putting up a front for the fact that whether they want you to sleep with them very quickly or whether they just want to disguise who they really are so that you're unaware of that and so that you continue to desire them, right? It's very good when this can be consistent all around from all of his other friendships. So I know the very first thing that a lot of you are going to say to me and ask me, you're going to say, Tomisin, come on, be for real. Not everyone has friends. Some of us are friendless. Some of us are lonely. Some of us what if he's a homebody? What if he doesn't go outside? What if he doesn't have shoes? What if he doesn't have a car? What if he's homeless? This is not good. Anytime a man will, one, either convince you that he has no friends, or number two, he actually has no friends in reality, it's a very bad sign. Very bad sign. And you might think, well, he's not doing it on purpose. It's still a very bad sign because what that means is no one can vouch for him. So who he presents himself to you, you're just going to have to take him at his word. But who's really going to be able to speak to the fact that how he told you he is actually how he's been? The other thing that signifies a lot of the time when someone has no friends is the fact that they find it very difficult to connect with people on any level, whether it be a coworker, a casual friend, a childhood friend, a family member, whatever the case may be, right? This should also signify something to you that we talked about earlier with staying power. But instead of talking about it in a sense of a job or a career, I'm talking about in your friendships. When you notice that a guy has very little friendships because they all kind of wither away or the connection kind of isn't really there or whatever the case may be, that's also a very important sign that I want you to take note of. Because as someone grows and as someone evolves and as someone goes and does things and joins different communities and has different jobs, the natural occurrence of human beings is to build connections with people and build bonds with people and build friendships with people. So the idea that a grown man, a grown adult man who has been living over 25 years to 30 to 40 years, depending on how old the guy you're dating is, has built no connections that are on any sort of depth in his life means something very, very important. That he does not have the staying power as it relates to his relationships to maintain even platonic friendships. So what do you think that that says about you and his ability to be able to maintain a romantic relationship? Okay, right? Stella says he could control his inner circle. Absolutely, he can control his inner circle, right? So this is very important to note, right? Lipser says some of us have narcissistic tendencies, psychopaths, and sociopaths, right? If someone is very hard to deal with, of course they will be hard to deal with. So how many people are going to want to stay friends with someone who is hard to deal with? A lot of these type of people who will isolate you and have no friendships will just be going through a rotating list of different friends until that friend gets to know who they really are. Okay, right? Joy says, I can't maintain a lot of deep friendships, but hopefully all the people I've met since high school, since I think you said, still hold me high. But there are plenty of still who just want codependency. Yes. So this is the other thing as well, right? Part of the reason it becomes a red flag in two ways. One, it creates a scenario in which if your partner has no friendships, then they're going to be relying on you for a lot of their happiness. That's number one. And number two, it obviously communicates something about their ability to have staying power in friendships, whether it be the guy or whether it be you. Not to call you out, Joy, but any of you that suffer from this as well, you have to be thinking to yourself, is there a correlation between my lack of ability to maintain platonic friendships and my lack of ability to maintain a romantic relationship? Because there usually is. Okay, I'm not saying this to call anyone out, but even if the problem that you're struggling with is just keeping up with the person or staying in their life or making sure that you're checking up and they're checking up on you or whatever the case may be, right? There usually is going to be some sort of correlation between the fact you can't maintain the long-term friendship and you also can't maintain the long-term relationship. Not saying that you have to have so many best friends that your best friends are coming out of your eyeballs, but you definitely should have some people that are in your life that you call friends that you can at least call up and talk to and are used to speaking to and would call you a friend as well. I think that that's very important and very healthy regardless of your gender. All right, let's hop into point number 5, okay? I knew that one would ruffle a couple of feathers. Let me plug in my iPad. Chat, did you know that I'm an iPad kid? You probably didn't. All right, let's hop into number 5. Why'd I draw that 5 like that? Okay. So, for this one, we're going to head into math class. Don't start sweating on me, okay? Don't worry. Not going to be too much math. Let me draw it out here. Oh, let me do this. Trying to get my drawing skills better, chat. So, you know, I got to be focused on what I'm drawing. Type-ish, like the kids say. Okay, so here for number 5, we're going to discuss growth. Now, when I say growth, what do I mean? See, nothing wrong with going through tough times as a man. Nothing wrong with being down bad as a man. We all go down bad sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, having successes sometimes, having to work against the grain and things like that. But what you want to see when you're dating a guy is you want to see this kind of correlation here. And the reason I'm drawing this like this is for a very specific reason, right? In life, you know, as it will be, you're going to have a roller coaster of situations and circumstances. But when you start dating a guy, what you want to hear when you're listening to him talk about his life and you're listening to him talk about the things that he's been through, you want to see a graph that shows growth over the course of time, right? And I'm not talking about obviously in a physical sense. I mean in an emotional sense. Growth in his career, growth in his relationships, growth in his friendships. So what does growth really look like when we're talking about friendships, career, and relationships, right? Growth also looks like, you know, at this time in my life, I didn't quite understand how the way I was acting or the things I was saying were affecting my romantic relationships. Now that I've experienced that, I understand how to correct that. Or for my next relationship, I understood that that was an important focus, right? It could be something in his friendships as well, along the same lines of understanding, hey, this wasn't working at this time in my friendship. I made an adjustment and I made a change and I tried to improve on that. I still had different problems, but at least I worked and I at least attempted to work on those things. In the career, the same idea. Oh, I was at this job and I couldn't figure this thing out and I was trying to work to get this promotion and I just kept getting denied and denied and denied until one day I came up with this great idea at work, and when they implemented it, they instantly promoted me because they knew that they needed me more than anything, right? You want to see someone get better over the course of time. That's why I talked about one of the key green flags is curiosity, because curiosity is going to be directly related to growth. Someone who's not curious and doesn't have a desire to learn or change their circumstances never will. And someone who never changes their circumstances will never grow. Someone who is quote unquote a red flag, a lot of their life will look mostly like this, where they're just kind of going up and down and up and down, but they're not really making any changes over the course of time, right? And in some cases, they'll be going backwards, right? Because they don't have a desire to grow. They don't feel they need to grow. They don't think it's necessary to grow, so they never implement any change. When you date someone, you want to see how capable they are of growing over the course of time, understanding mistakes that they've made, not just in relationships, but mistakes that they've made in life, and ways that they can adjust that to not make those same mistakes again. If you're noticing that when you talk to someone, they talk about their problems or their issues as if, hey, I have no plan to actually solve them, and I have no desire to actually solve them or get better or improve, then you're dealing with someone who has no desire to grow and probably hasn't experienced a lot of growth in the latter part or the previous part of his life, right? And if you're with a guy who is not experiencing growth at any point in his life, what makes you think he's going to be able to grow with you in a relationship with you? He won't be able to. Does that make sense, right? So take keen notice of men and their ability to grow over time when they're discussing with you their life story, okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope the line graph didn't make any of you sweat. It's kind of mathy, very mathy. All right. Let's hop into this is point number 6. And we going. Okay. So, point number 6 here. Let's draw this out. I'm really trying to work on my drawing skills, chat. Can't you tell? Look at how much I be working for y'all. All right. Big head man. This is you. We'll put some eyes on you. Okay. Right? So, this is why point number 6 is about desire. Now, I'm not talking about desire in the way that you're probably thinking, right? I'm not talking about a desire for you or to be with you or to sleep with you. I'm talking about an internal desire that a man should have, that I am ready for this part of my life. What I'm talking about is something that you probably won't realize about men. See, you can meet the same man at different points of his life, and because you meet him at one point or the other, you'll be able to either have a successful relationship with him at that point, or you'll have a very unsuccessful relationship with him at that point. What do I mean by that, and why does that happen? Because men have to come to a point in their life where they say, I have done what I think I need to do. I'm in the position that I want to be. I now know deep down in my heart that the next step for me is to find a woman that I can be with. is to find a woman that I can call my wife, that will be the mother to my children, that will raise a family with, that I will get married to, right? The reason I say that, and the reason I say this is a green flag desire, is because this will help progress and push forward your entire relationship. What can happen a lot of times is you might go out on a date with a guy and you assume because you're on a date with a guy that he's in a place in his life where he actually has a desire for this. And this might sound really weird because you're thinking, Thompson, isn't any guy I would meet on a dating app or any guy I would meet that's single or any guy that I would go on a date with, wouldn't they all have this same desire? No, not necessarily. And this is kind of the confusing part about men. You have to get good about asking questions and listening to him talk to understand if he really is actually in search for someone to spend the rest of his life with, and not just in search for a distraction, not just in search to jackrabbit himself inside of a random woman, not just in search to waste time. Because a lot of men will come on dates with you with a lot of different motives. And you have to sit back and allow those men to tell on themselves of their real motives. That way you can understand if he has the green flag of saying, no, I know that the next thing for me to accomplish and do is find a wife. It has to almost feel like an obligation for him. I need to find a wife because I know the only way for me to get to the next level, the only way for me to get to the next stage in my life is to find a wife that I can settle down with and be with, that is going to take me there and build a family with me and take me to the next place that I need to be in. That desire will always progress a relationship forward how it's supposed to be pushed forward, right? Not by you, right? And not because you beg him to, but because he has a desire to actually have this for himself and his own life. And part of the reason that this can be really confusing is because a lot of you probably ask this very common question: what are you looking for? And they all say, well, I'm looking for something serious. But that's not really this answer. And I know that that can probably be a little bit confusing, right? Because everyone, all these guys are prepared to answer that question like that because they're anticipating that that's what you want to hear. What you want to be paying attention to when you're actually looking for this green flag is how he talks about his own desires for his own life. If when he's discussing the things that he wants for his future, he's not actually discussing the fact that he wants to be married or he wants to find a wife or he wants to find someone that he's really going to be with and build with, if he's not discussing that as part of his future plans, his 5-year plan, his 10-year plan, then you know that that's not really what he desires. Okay? Right? Sometimes when you ask the direct question, you can get the fake answer. But when you ask the indirect question, you'll get the real answer. So if you want to learn how much desire a guy has to actually be in a serious relationship, ask him what his plan for himself is in the next 5 to 10 years, where he wants to be, how he wants to be living, and what he wants his life to look like. If that doesn't include settling down with one woman that he knows is the right woman for him, then there you have your answer of whether or not he has this green flag or not. Okay? Because a lot of men will get tricked into telling you the truth of their real desires and it'll be void of any sort of relationship. And that's how you know he's not really ready for one or looking for one, because that's not where he is in his life. Okay? All right, let's hop into our point number 7. All right. You'll love this. Why did I draw my 7 like that? I'll be drawing my numbers weird today. Something going on. Is it a full moon? Okay. So, this one's going to require some of my drawing that you all love so much. Wow, I just draw it too big. That's the problem. Okay, so here we obviously have a car, here we obviously have a man, and here we obviously have a road. Okay, So number 7 is about purpose. Now, I'm going to explain this like this so we can all be on the same page. See, this is the thing about purpose for men. And I know you hear this a lot. Purpose, purpose, purpose. You want to look for your purpose. What's your purpose? The reason that this is such an important green flag to identify is because if a man is void of purpose, he'll be void of direction. Let's kind of put this into a little bit of a visual. So if we imagine a car going down a road leading towards an eventual destination, we can think of the car like action, right? Specifically taking action. And we can think of the man as himself, obviously. And we can think of the road as the journey. Now, the reason that I'm saying this and I'm putting this way is because you want to understand something very important. If a man has purpose, meaning he understands why he's here on this earth, what he's meant to be doing, how he's meant to be serving this world with his abilities and skill sets, where he's meant to be. This will tell you something very important about his ability to have direction. It'll also tell you something very important about this key character trait, consistency. Because when a man understands his own purpose, it actually makes it easy for you to better understand him on a consistent basis, because he will be in the places that serve his purpose. He'll be working on things because they serve this purpose. He'll be taking action because it serves his purpose. Now, why is this a good thing for you? Because it makes that man a lot less unpredictable. And you want a man who is not unpredictable. You don't want a man who is unpredictable. If you have a man who is unpredictable, you'll have someone who randomly wakes up one day and says, you know what? I know we were doing a thing for 2, 3, 4 years, but I've just decided none of this is what I want anymore, and I want to go be single and move to Australia. And you'll be like, wait, what happened here? How did we go from being so good and being so amazing to all of a sudden you don't want the same thing as me at all? How did all of that change in just such a short period of time? And the reason that this happens is because when men lack purpose, they also lack direction. When they lack direction, one day they're here, another day they're there, and it all just kind of crumbles apart or explodes after a while, because you realize that you and him, or he realizes he's not on the same page as you and he wants something completely different than you. But you're confused because you've come to expect a particular type of man in a particular type of way. But the problem is there's nothing keeping him aligned to this journey. That's why I made it a car on a road, right? There's nothing keeping him here because he has no real destination for himself. When he has no real destination for himself, you suffer because the man that you come to learn and understand all of a sudden is no longer that man and no longer has those same desires. A sense of purpose will keep a man focused on one desire, to keep a man focused on one destination, that you can decide for yourself, hey, I like where you're trying to go. I want to join you and be a part of this journey. And you know that as he's moving forward towards that journey, that you can expect him to be in certain places, talk a certain way, be a certain type of person, and be consistent in those ways because he's heading towards that purpose and heading towards that destination. Okay? Does that make sense to all of you beautiful people in the chat, why those are such important and great green flags to be paying attention to? Let me know in the chat if you guys have any questions of the 7 that we just discussed here about green flags in men. Okay? Let me look for where did my water bottle go? Is it even down here? Oh, it's over here. Okay. You guys can ask any questions that you want about the show here. All right? By the way, if any of you came late and you missed any of the points, and you missed any of the points that we discussed, because I seen someone say, please explain growth again. If you missed any of the points that we discussed, they're all on my YouTube channel. Just go to my top of my head. If you're watching this on TikTok, type in my first name, Tomisin. I'm actually live on YouTube at the same time as I'm live on TikTok, and you can just click rewind, and take it back there. I'm live right now, so you can go there right now and rewatch that whole point as a bouquet, okay? And you can see it there, all right? By the way, for any of you who have a personal question for me, whether it be related to this topic that we discussed today, any of the points, or even if it's unrelated, just in general about your relationship or situationship, I have a hotline that you can use to ask me, any question that you want to ask me. And the way that you access this hotline is by going to the link in my bio if you're watching on TikTok, or the link in my description if you're watching this on YouTube. Click where it says private relationship advice, and you can ask me any question about your relationship or situationship. Type it out as much as you want. You send it in to me, and then I respond with a voice message back to you and back to your email that you're going to use to send in the question, okay? LP Baby says, question, how to indirectly ask him about his 5-year plan. How do you ask him this without it sounding like an interview? You can just put it in, I should say, casually in the course of conversation, right? You can just start saying, hey, I'm just thinking, like, where are some of the places that you want to live in the future, right? This is how you can kind of ease into it. What would be like some of your perfect places to live, like in like 5 years or 10 years, right? And he'll start listing off places. Oh, I've always thought about living in Miami. I've always thought about living in Italy, right? Oh, what type of house do you want to live in? You can ask that. I kind of was always thinking, a penthouse would be amazing where I can bring 1,000 women. Or I was always thinking I'd live in a whatever, by the ocean, by the lake. Oh, that's interesting. Like, how big would the house you would want to be, and things like that. So you just start asking more and more questions of, okay, what's your ideal life in 5 years, in 10 years, and whatever, right? And then you just keep following up and following up and following up, right? And then you can totally just say, okay, what in just totality, like, what do you want your life to be looking like at that time? And when men are really, trust me, because when men get to a point where they say, I am looking for a wife, it becomes like almost like a job where they're saying, I'm hunting for a wife. I'm looking for a wife because I've got my finances in order. I've got my life in order. I have my house. I have my car. I have everything I need now to be able to take care of a woman. My next step is finding that woman. And trust me, when men are in that state, because I have even guy friends that are in that state and transitioning to that state, it's like a laser focus on finding the right woman. They're actually taking it very seriously. So the reason that I say that is you will hear that in a way a man talks about his desires for his future when he's talking about his own life and his overall desires for his life. If he does not discuss that, right? If he doesn't mention that in the things that he wants or how he wants his life to look in the future, I guarantee you it's because he's not even in a place mentally where that's really what he's focused on. And the problem for you with a man is if one of his top priorities isn't having a successful relationship, then you won't get that energy from him in terms of actually figuring things out and working on having a successful relationship, right? Chelsea says, what if he acted like a green flag at first, but then you notice his friends distancing themselves, or he was all talk about his dreams, no actions? So this is part of one of the things that I should mention about this green flag thing is that obviously the same way someone can have some red flags but not necessarily be a bad person, someone who's not for you can also have some green flags but not necessarily be an absolutely perfect person. So these green flags are about understanding key elements of a man that you should be paying attention to, but it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, if I notice some of the things that Tomisin talks about once or twice, then that means he's an absolute perfect man and there's nothing else for me to think about, right? We don't live on extremes. There's always an evaluation process, but I want to use this to help you guide you in looking for key areas. Now, as who was it that mentioned this? I think it was Chelsea that mentioned being all action and no talk as it relates to his dreams and his desires and what he wants. That is what we would consider a red flag. Okay, so if we had a separate day where we're talking about red flags, that would be definitely one point, because saying you want something as a man and desire to be in this destination or have this outcome, but never actually working towards it, means that you will do the same thing in your relationships. You'll talk about, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. And lo and behold, as time goes on, nothing will change. It directly correlates. It's like the exact same thing. So if you notice that in a man who will talk about taking action on his own life, but you never see him actually doing any of the things he says he wants, like, investing in the stock market or doing something other than playing video games, right, to actually make the money that he says he wants to make, then you know you have a waste of a man on your hands. Absolute waste. Okay. Uh, Darlene says, "May I say, don't move in with him, unmarried and without a plan for your future. If it doesn't work out, don't catch yourself homeless, ladies. 100%. You don't want to be anywhere near a man without a plan. And the only time you want to be around a man is if he's got a plan. Okay." Lauren says, "Action and duty, baby. 100%. Right." You will only want to be around a man with a plan. Blue says, "How long do we allow them to match their words when he includes us in his purpose in life direction? Is it a 3-month rule?" Well, you're not looking. So one thing that I always want to make sure you guys understand, you're not looking for a time frame as it relates to saying, okay, after 3 months, if he hasn't asked me to be his girlfriend, then all of this is a waste, right? I want you to be more paying attention to, are these events happening or are they not happening? Which are key events that need to be happening in order for things to be progressing. So what do I mean by that, Blues? If he says that he wants to include you in his future plans, of course, he should be taking action towards that. Now, everyone has a slightly different pace, so I'm not saying that that means he needs to ask you to be his girlfriend by tomorrow, but there should be progression towards that, right? So when he says, I want to make you my wife, I want to make you my girlfriend, you should feel and see progression towards that over the course of time, even if it's just slightly. If you are not seeing any progression towards that over the course of time, or you're even seeing things go backwards, then you're in the wrong place. As long as there's progression, though, towards the actual destination, then obviously eventually you'll get there. Everyone's timeline is a little bit different, though. So just be paying attention to if things are progressing rather than did we hit the 3-month mark, the 90-day mark, the whatever mark, right? Like that's less important than the overall progression.
Number one, he's very vague when it comes to his relationships. Especially, you can really tell when he's very active on social media, because if he's active about himself and maybe his guys or friends, family, but then when it comes to his relationships, he's very vague, meaning like, okay, he might be out to dinner, right? And he posts a picture of himself and it's very romantic, but he's only posting himself. That's for a reason. That's not a coincidence. He's posting 2 glasses. That's for a reason. Enough for you to not really say too much. So it's like, oh, okay, he's claiming me. But enough, but not enough for the other girls get mad and then they're looking at it like, oh, okay, he's 100% off the market. That's why he'll do enough where you're claiming him, but outwardly or behind closed doors, he's not claiming you. That's why a lot of y'all get confused because y'all think a man doing boyfriend things that's a committed relationship. Some men, and I've spoken on this before, like companionship, like the feeling and getting their ego stroked by you, but they're never actually giving you a commitment. That means they putting themselves in a situation where it's easy to walk away. Number two, he acts different when certain women or a woman is around, whether he's
Before she goes into number two, I want to say something that actually relates to the video I just posted today about how to keep a man in love with you forever. So keep your man in love with you forever, which actually refers to the idea of part of, so this is going to sound really sneaky, but when you actually start building a relationship with a man, a good way, it's going to sound really sneaky, don't tell anyone I told you, a good way to get more commitment from him, assuming you're already dating him, okay? I'm not talking about those of you who are with a guy who doesn't like you. Assuming he actually likes you and he's actually dating you, a good way to get even more commitment from him, which I mentioned in my video that I posted on my YouTube channel today, is to ingratiate yourself in his success. Because when you can do that, you'll be able to get a lot farther, because when you walk out of his life, so will his ability to be the best version of himself, which is honestly, it's like a sneaky secret weapon. Okay, don't tell anyone I told you that.
he's nervous, a little flustered, he doesn't make eye contact, he avoids that person, or he's subtly flirty, but he disguises it as, oh, that's just my friend, that's my sister, but you only see her around in certain situations and you don't know nothing about her. Come on now. Number three, I'm gonna have to do another video on this one too. Watch out for the that's my crazy ex. That's my crazy baby mama. I've been in a situation like this where somebody tried to do the whole that's my crazy and he's talking down on her. Usually a man that's talking down on the ex, that means she still has access to him, but in case something was to slip up, it doesn't make him look guilty. Remember, she's the crazy ex and most women will fall for it. Four signs you are not his main woman.
Wait, I thought that was the well, the crazy ex thing is definitely true. Anytime someone paints, most of the time exes aren't crazy. Like, rarely will you see an ex that is crazy to the point where they will like stalk you or message you when it's unwarranted or you're not doing any sort of reciprocation. Just not just that's like just the reality. Like, most exes aren't going to be reaching out on an ongoing basis when there's nothing being reciprocated. So if there is something being reciprocated, then you have to ask yourself a different question. Why is it the energy being reciprocated?
Number four, he's if you pull away due to you might have found something out and then he pushes closer, that's not because he's so sorry. It's because he's trying to get you off of it. So then he'll shower you with certain things so you don't ask questions. And most women will fall for it because they thinking that's putting him in his place when really it's nothing to him.
Or that he's fighting for you.
It gets your guard down and then the cycle repeats. Let me
100%. I agree with that. When they try to, it's not love bombing, but like when they realize that you might have found something out, they'll basically show you a lot more affection than they were before, hoping that you'll say, okay, I'll trade more affection in for addressing this situation. Because if I get more affection, that feels better than me addressing the situation and not getting affection. And at least then I can sweep it under the rug for myself and not have to address it. Not good. Not good.
I'm going to say this for the woman in the back. When you realize that dating is a self-love game, you win. I'm going to say this for the woman.
Oh, that was it? That was it? That's true, though. Dating is a self-love game, and you have to realize. I talk about this a lot, actually, on the show, because we talk about what men want, but I kind of sneak in there what you should want and what you should be doing for yourself, because I actually know that that's going to make you the most attractive version of yourself. But a lot of times you don't want to hear that when you're thinking about how to be more desirable for men. You don't want to hear me talk about how to better yourself, but that's how you do it. Okay. It's a little secret of mine that I share that I do on this show here. All right. Let's see. We have more here. I just had to refresh it because I put some more in here. Okay.
I heard we giving our signature lines when we talking her through it. I'm at work right now. Wait
Wait. Does he mean what I...
till I get home. I'm finna put y'all on. Y'all
Who sent this to me?
know Freak Master Flex finna put y'all on, folks. Alright, I'm back now, y'all. Grab my motherfucking hand. The ride finna get a little bumpy. You feel me? So first off, I'm already talking her through it before I'm in it. Listen to me. I'm talking about before the activities even get the starting, I'm all up in shorty ear whispering, is she ready for me? Yeah, she ready, you sure? How wet is she? Oh, God.
This what y'all want to talk about today? Okay, we're gonna talk.
That's going to increase the water pressure. You see what I'm saying? It's going to increase the water pressure. You feel me? So then we move into this. This the basic shit, though. This the basic shit. Basics, he be like,
Someone said, what's this? If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. I'm not gonna just, if you know type.
oh, this motherfucker so wet, or motherfucker tight. You know what I'm saying? All that shit. Let me tell y'all how to switch it up, though. You feel me? Get up in there and be like, ooh, she's so warm. On phone them. Call, like, she. Not it. She. That punan. She's so warm. One of my favorite ones when they fart, they be like, you feel me? When they fart, Usually you get the fart when you coming in and out that motherfucker. So when I hear that
Too
fart,
much
I be
air.
like, ooh, shh, hold on, she talking to me. Let me listen to what she's saying. And I slide in and out that motherfucker just to hear that motherfucker fart over and over again. And I be like, ooh, she sounds so sexy. I love it when she talk to me. Bro. Then this is where it gets spicy. This is where it gets spicy, chat. Hey, chat, you can't do this with everybody, though. This way it gets spicy. Me, it's about the affirmations, Brody. I know you never tried it. Listen to me. I'm finna put you on.
No, wait. He can't be giving out too much of the sauce here. Hey, brother. I'm gonna need you to take this video down. You can't be stealing my sauce here, brother. I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna have to report this after this. I'm gonna have to report this video because you can't be giving away the best sauce here.
You in that motherfucker, you instantly hit that. Tell me you beautiful. I'm beautiful. Nah, say it like you fucking mean it. Tell me you a bad bitch right now. Yeah, just like that. Tell me you a bad bitch. And then when she get the running, bro, fellas, don't be aggressive when she get the running. Don't be aggressive. You gotta be a little bit more calmer. You gotta hit her with that. It's okay, baby. You doing so good. Be a good girl for daddy. You could take all of it. I know you can.
I'm upset. I'm very upset. He's letting go of a lot of trade secrets that nobody should be talking about or discussing, because this is for a secret society of men that understand what's going on here. This is not for the faint of heart, okay? Right? Some of you don't know what he's talking about. Good. Well, I shouldn't say good, honestly, because it'll change your life. But he's talking about a secret society here, okay? So some young girls in here. No one under 20 should be here. No one under 20 should be in here. So if you don't know what he's talking about, I'm not going to explain it to you. But what he's saying is very accurate, and it will take you to a different place, okay?
Big girl. Oh, my granny. Nigga, I'm telling you, bro. And then when she get that, I'm finna, no, tell her no. Tell her no. Hit her with that. You do that when I tell you to. I'm not ready yet. Bro. Can I please, daddy? Can I please? No. You can hold out a little bit more longer. I know you can. You a big girl. And then you start counting down for, I don't want to say the word, but you be like, you ready to, ooh, yes, please. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, the countdown is extra. The countdown is extra. That's extra.
1. Yeah, show me all of that. Yeah, show me all of that. Come all on it, bro. Yeah. Family members, if you see this, don't watch. This is TikTok After Dark. TikTok, these are all jokes.
We might have to report that video. I don't want any of that. None of that should be coming out to the world, to the general public. The general public's not ready for that information. Most of y'all aren't even ready for that information. But some of y'all are very confused on what he's even talking about. And I don't even want you guys to worry about what he's talking about because it's not relevant to most of you. So let's just pretend like none of this happened. And let's pretend like we didn't watch this video together. Let's never talk about this again. Don't ask me any questions about what any of this means. I don't know what any of this means. I don't want to pretend to know. I have no idea what he's discussing. This is not something that I know that people even do. So let's just go ahead and let's just move on. Yeah.
I am going to explain why they don't like you from a research scientist perspective. If you did not know, I am currently in a doctoral program, and human sexuality and love is a huge pillar to my research. I could talk about this topic from a lot of different angles, but today I'm going to talk about it from a sociology perspective.
Okay, I'll say one thing because I know you guys are a little bit curious. One thing I will say that will, aside from the other types of things he's talking about, one thing I will say is be very aware, and I'll make this a PC version, be very aware of how pineapples is more intensified when your mind is stimulated. My advice to you, because I actually want you to have pleasure, right? And like I said, I hope any under 20 years old should be gone from this, shouldn't even be watching my show. But your pleasure is important. And so when you're looking for a guy, and you're looking for someone you are going to be in a romantic relationship with, and I'm actually serious about this, look for a man who actually understands how important mental stimulation is for you as a woman during intercourse or just any sort of pineapple or sex activity. Okay. The reason I say this is because it will quite literally change your life. What he's talking about with the affirmations, say I'm beautiful and things like that, like, you probably, if you haven't experienced something like this, you probably don't realize how powerful it is, but you could be, not going to get too deep into it, but you could be literally having pineapples, sex, and be crying because of the fact that you're so emotionally overwhelmed. And I don't mean crying in a bad way. I mean crying, and Kiki just said it, like in a way where it's such a deep spiritual connection that you feel something more than just sleeping with someone. And it's actually a very good thing. That's the reason I'm discussing it. So the reason I say all that is when looking for a man, we're talking about green flags today, but if a man can talk about intimacy that way, from the standpoint of including your mind in it and trying to understand your mind to give you better pleasure during intimacy, that is definitely a man that you will experience a lot of pleasure from. So I'll just leave it like that, because I do think that that's a very important point when thinking about relationships and thinking about how they're going to work for your future. Obviously, you want to experience pleasure, and you don't want someone so focused on their own pleasure that they're not thinking about yours. And as a woman, your mind needs to be the number one thing stimulated in order for you to receive the proper amount and kind of pleasure. Okay?
I am going to explain why they don't like you from a research scientist perspective. If you did not know, I am currently in a doctoral program, and human sexuality and love is a huge pillar to my research. I could talk about this topic from a lot of different angles, but today I'm going to talk about it from a sociology perspective. And I'm going to introduce y'all to a new concept that you probably have never heard of called dramaturgy. And dramaturgy really follows the definition or the idea or ideology.
Chat, how do you guys feel about her nails? I don't want to say anything. I want you guys to tell me as a woman, how do you feel about her nails? I'm just curious.
Of you are playing a lot of different scenes in your head, and it's very dramatized, given drama in the name. Now, how can we add that to one's romantic lives? See, people come into relationship with a lot of internalized beliefs. And if we are following the rule of dramaturgy, also, there are the rules or scripts that people are playing in their head or that people are bringing into relationships. A couple weeks ago, I did a video on performative scripting and how performance is playing a role in our romantic and love lives. But this concept really hones in on the fact of that person already has put you into a category. This category could be based off your looks. This category could be based off of skin color. This category could be based off of weight. This category could be based off of education class, wealth class, your background. They already put you in a category. And so no matter how great you are, no matter how romantic you are, no matter how emotionally in tune you are, no matter how great in bed you are, they already put you in a category. And it does not matter what you do to try to prove and beg and plead that you're not like the other people. You're not like those that hurt you in your past or in their past. You're not like the other girls. You're not like the other guys. You're not like them. You're different. They already have a script in their head. They already placed you in the category before they knew your last name.
This brings up a really interesting idea of what I want to talk to you guys about. It's kind of like a psychology thing, but it made me think about this. So I'm going to say something unrelated. I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I want you to stay with me in understanding why this is important. So I have lots of conversations with lots of different people, right? And I ask a lot of questions. I'm a very curious person. Okay, I don't usually yap this much. And so in having conversations with different women in different industries with different careers, I've had conversations with strippers, not in a strip club. I've also had conversations with women who do OF, right? So one of the things that I hear all the time, a lot from the women that are in these types of industries is one of the key elements to making money, right? Is understanding how to play into the fantasy that the men have of you. And so I naturally ask the question, what do you mean by that? And they tell me the whole idea is you have to decide what is your look? What is your aesthetic? When people see you, when specifically the women are talking about, when the guys see you, what do they see of me? Do they see me as like a cute, innocent schoolgirl? Do they see me as like a really powerful, strong woman? Do they see me as like Tomb Raider, Amazon hunter, like superior woman? Do they see me as the smart, intelligent, cutesy girl? Do they see me as a tomboy? The reason I say that is because depending on what narrative guys build of you in their mind, you can play into that when you start to notice a theme, right? When you go into your life, you'll start noticing people talk about you a particular way or address you a particular way or say, damn, you're so powerful. Or, damn, you're so independent. You're so strong. You're so this, you're so that. What I want you to take notice of, if there's a lot of people saying the same things about you or talking about you in the same way, you'll actually get the best result if you play into whatever that role is that people naturally have a narrative of you of. Because when you do that, you'll attract a very specific audience that's really, really into that. And the more you can kind of play into that, the deeper you can leverage those people who really, really like that about you. So if you have this really, Ricky just said it, archetypes, right? If you have this really skater-ish girl vibe, but you kind of don't do it on purpose, it's kind of just accidental in the way that you dress and the way that your face is shaped and the way that you do your makeup. If you lean deeper into your skater girl goth vibe, whatever it is, and really went deep into it with your fishnets and your skirts and your boots and whatever the case may be, you're going to be even more attractive to the guys who are into this skater girl archetype, right? Because not only do you have the natural look, but then when you match it with purposely trying to like actually feed that aesthetic, whatever it is, you're going to be super desirable by those guys who like those type of girls. So the reason that I say all that is because that's kind of what she's talking about, understanding what role you fit or play into very naturally. And once you identify that, taking it a step forward by going deeper into it and really making that your archetype or your identity, because it already fits you naturally and people already want to believe in that. So when you are that, it's just very, very intoxicating is the word I'm looking for, right? I know for some of you, it's just like, what does that even mean? But for those of you who get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying.
You know that guy in the ill-fitting suit that makes sprinkle content? The one who went live with Shara7? That guy is a grifter. That guy used to make red-pilled content. He realized that he could get further and make more money by using popular rhetoric amongst female creators to exploit women and to make money off of women. And you guys fall for it, and it drives me absolutely crazy. Why would you let a man come into this space and make even a penny off of anything that we're saying? While he's telling you not to go 50-50 with a guy on a date, he's racking in money from you. He used to make content for men. He used to make content talking about how he cheats on his girlfriends. Basically like Playboy content. Like, if you want this big house that I rented, if you want to be the man like me in his horrible H&M suit, then you need to treat women like this, and women only respect you if you treat them like this, and I used to cheat on my girlfriends.
Yeah, I believe she's talking about Russell Hartley, right? He's the guy that makes content talking about like not going 50-50.
That's the kind of content he used to make. I made a video talking about how older men who date younger women are dating younger women because they're easier to take advantage of. He commented on it and said, younger women are prettier than older women. That's literally it. Someone said, so you like them for superficial purposes, which is what she said if you listen instead of reacting. And he said, yes. This guy is the guy that he's telling you to avoid. The only reason he knows is because he is that guy. He has no respect for women. He doesn't care about you. He's just trying to make a buck off of you. Stop falling for grifters. You know that guy in the ill-fitting suit?
Well, okay. My whole thing is, and you guys will learn this about me on the show, I'm not going to talk down on anyone or their life or their situation. Is none of my business what they choose to do with their life. All I'm here to do is give you information based on my own experience, what I think, what I've gone through, and you guys can choose whether or not you feel that that information is valuable to you or not. If Russell Hartley was making red pill content before and he's making content now for what women should do or not do or 50-50 or this and that, and it resonates with you, hey, it can resonate with you. If it doesn't, or you don't like the idea that he was making videos for men before and now he's making videos for women and it doesn't resonate with you, then so be it. I'm not here. I just don't like chat. You're going to learn this about me over the course of time. I don't ever like to talk about what someone else is doing bad because I do bad things as well, right? Like I'm not a perfect human being as well. So I do not like to go through the whole, oh, you're such a bad person because you do this and that and this and that and da 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 da. Well, so someone else can say the same thing about me, and I'm sure someone else could say the same thing about her. We're just all imperfect human beings. I get it. We all make mistakes, but it's just not my style to be like, oh, he's such a bad person because he does this, and I don't agree with how he lives his life, so everyone should disagree. You're not going to hear that from me. But I get it. I get why she's upset. I get why it's a problem for her, and I get why other women might not want to be involved, like listen to his content because of that.
It's so funny because my dad from day one was like, there's something suspicious about this guy. Like, why is he in his mid to late 30s, still single, but calls himself a dating expert, calls himself a dating coach? Like, that's so weird. My dad kept saying that from day one. I was like, no, Dad, he just hasn't met the right girl yet. My dad was right. My dad was right. It's so funny because my dad from day one was like, there's something suspicious about this guy. Like, why is he in his mid to late 30s, still single, but calls himself a dating expert, calls himself
that's so funny.
You know
Oops.
You know
Why
that
did they
guy
see
in the
that?
ill-fitting suit that makes
Sorry, I was
some of men know when.
It's so funny because my dad.
Sorry. No, I was just looking at the comments here because I'm looking at the comments and people were saying, who are you talking about? Which dating coach are you talking about? So there's a whole bunch of names in here. Who do you think she's talking about?
Men know when wifey material walks into the room.
It's so funny because my dad.
What do you think she's talking about? She said mid to late
from
30s.
Day one was like, there's something suspicious about this guy. Like, why is he in his mid to late 30s, still single, but calls himself a dating expert, calls himself a dating coach? Like,
by the way, chat, she's not talking about me. I'm 27. So she ain't talking about me simply by that age range there.
So weird. My dad kept saying that from day one. I was like, no, Dad, he just hasn't met the right girl yet. My dad was right. My dad was right. It's so funny because my dad.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I mean, I get it. If someone is not in a relationship, it would be hard to, I guess, take advice from them from a relationship. But then I also think to myself, it does also depend what are they talking about, right? What are they discussing in their content? Are they talking about how to get the guy? Are they talking about what guys are interested in, what they don't like, what they gravitate towards? Are they talking about marriage? Are they like, what are they talking about, right? So it kind of depends on the topic a little bit, I think as well, because a guy is going to be able to tell you what guys think, right? If you think about it logically, right? You guys are all guessing different ones. Someone said Steven Speaks. Someone said Matthew Hussey. Someone says, I don't know any of their relationship statuses, to be honest with you. But I respect everything that they do. I'm not really into getting in other people's lives, chat. I don't know if that's a little bit disappointing to some of you guys, but like whatever they choose to do with their life is perfectly fine with me.
Men know when wifey material walks into the room. Spawn a story. Matthew McConaughey recently spoke about this. When he first met his wife, Camila McConaughey, the first time they met, he was sitting in a club. He had a table, he had drinks, and then he saw Camila shred through the audience, walk through the club, and he didn't say, "Who is that?" Matthew McConaughey said, "What is that?" And he pursued her despite her original rejection, and he pursued hard until he got her. Now, this is Matthew McConaughey, arguably one of the most attractive, successful men at the time. Even men like this know, is what I'm trying to say. Men who have all of the options in the world. Matthew McConaughey could get anybody. He saw Camila McConaughey, walk through that restaurant, through that club, and he saw her, and he was so head over heels for her from that instant, from that split second of making eye contact. So what I'm trying to say here is, yeah, like, that's how early men know. We truthfully know very early on if we want you. And so if you're talking to a guy and he just doesn't seem that interested, or he kind of ghosts you here and there, or just doesn't take you that seriously, then you are settling. Men.
The other thing too is not just do they know, I wouldn't say that. When saying that a guy knows really early on is a little bit misconstruing, because when you're thinking like that, then you think if a guy's not head over heels obsessed with me as soon as he meets me, then there's something wrong here. That is untrue. It's also very dangerous to be thinking that that's the only way you're going to experience love. Love can grow and progress over time and does not have to start off like a blazing fire. That's number one. Number two, just because a guy says, hey, you're beautiful and I'm attracted to you, that still doesn't negate the fact that, one, he has to be in a place mentally where he's actually ready to be in a relationship. And number two, that he actually is capable of even doing that just because you're an attractive woman. So I get it. He's telling, and this is the problem. The story that he just told sounds like a Disney princess story. And that's what I hate about stories like this. I know he's not trying to do anything bad, right? But that's what I hate about stories like this, is because it sets this expectation that when a man one day sees you in the grocery store, he's just going to be dumbfounded with your beauty, and a wave of emotion is just going to hit him, and he's going to realize that his whole life has been useless without you, and he's going to get on his knees. He's going to pull out his imaginary ring that he just bought, okay? And he's going to say, I'm ready to marry you because I've always known my entire life that I was here and meant to marry. And then we're back to square one. We're back to you believing in Disney princess stories that don't do you any benefit in terms of finding the right man for you by filtering out men and actually dating them and realizing what it is that you're looking for. Okay? Because these Disney princess type stories make you feel like one random day, a man is just going to come and save your life because vibes, because the fairy tale, because the plot. That's not. Like, we want to get you good at understanding how relationships work, what makes them successful, what makes them unsuccessful, and the type of men who you'll be able to have successful and unsuccessful relationships with, so that you can position yourself to win and succeed. That's what we're here for. Not for some Cinderella story that will most likely never happen to any of you. Not to say that you can't still find love, but it's just not always going to sound and look like that. Okay? And that's perfectly fine. I want you to be in a sustainable relationship rather than one that, you know, just happens in the snap of a finger and is like a burning blaze right off the bat. The other thing to note too about stories like this is that what he's referring to is not a desire to make that woman his wife, even though it ended up being his wife. It was a deep and burning attraction to her, a physical attraction to her. Now we can talk about, oh, but there's something spiritual about the first time you meet your wife and your partner and things like that. Yeah, sure, we can add all that. But the reality of it is, the reason he was motivated and pushed towards seeing her and getting to know her is the initial physical attraction he had to her. If she was the same person that she's always been, with the same mind, the same spirit, and she was just a more physically unattractive version of herself, the same, I guarantee you, the same wave that hit Matthew McConaughey or any other man would not hit him the same way. That's just the reality of the situation. So I just say that to say, when you have a guy come on hot and heavy right from the beginning, I know you're an amazing person, an amazing woman with all of these amazing internal qualities, but understand what's driving that initial interaction is physical attraction. That's not a crime, but understand that that is the truth, so that you can then understand how to like pace yourself and slowly build off of that relationship instead of just having everything happen in the snap of a finger. Okay? All right, chat, let's hop into all of your favorite segment of the show. If you are an OG Players Club member, then you know what's coming. And if you don't, well, you're in for quite a treat. For those of you who are unaware, it is time. A very important, very special, very amazing time. And I don't want you to look at your clock. I don't want you to look at your watch. I don't want you to look at your phone, and I damn sure don't want you to look anywhere else in your entire home. If you don't know the time, indeed, I will tell you the time. Chat, should I whisper it or yell it? Which one? Which one? Which one? Which one? Which one? Which one? It's dying. Oh my God. Okay, chat. Enough silliness. All right, chat. So I'm going to explain to you all how this works for those of you who are very, very confused here. Okay, so Discord times where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or situationship. I'm in the general chat right now. Relationship or situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, I'm going to explain to you all how this works for those of you who are new here and have no idea what I'm talking about. So the way that this works is you guys can send me in a question and I answer it, and we have discussion here live on the show. So if you're on TikTok, you can send in your question by going to the link in my bio on TikTok. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, go into my description and then you click where it says a Discord, our Players Club Discord, and then it'll ask you to join the Discord, and you can drop your question in our free relationship advice forum. Now, the way that the free forum works is that it's a first come, first serve queue. So everyone here is waiting for my answer. All of these highlighted questions. Well, obviously, we have a lot of highlighted questions. So it's going to take me a few weeks, honestly, to get to your question if you ask your question today. So I know that that's a little bit frustrating for those of you who are very impatient. The other way for you to get your question answered is by going and asking your question in our premium. Oh, we have a lot to do in our premium relationship advice forum. Now, the way that this works is because the queue for the free relationship section is very long and some people are impatient. This premium section are people who will get their question read out before I go into the free section. So I'm going to clear all of these questions out first, and then I read the a couple of free ones, right? So if you are someone who's impatient and you don't want to wait, you can put in your question here. But the only way that you're allowed to do that is if you first go when you're in the link in my bio on TikTok, or if you're clicking in my description on YouTube, go to where it says Premium Discord Relationship Advice. And then it'll prompt you to donate to the show, and it'll also prompt you to put in the title of your Discord username, and the title of your question with your donation. That way, when you send it in, I get a notification on my phone. I'm able to see that that's you and that's your donation and your question. And so then I read it out because I know that your question is supposed to be here, because obviously you're getting to skip the line. So we got to keep it fair for everyone, okay? Now, for those of you who want to ask me a question, but you don't want your information read out live on the show, there's also our private relationship advice. It's not a forum, but it's like a link, like a hotline, where you can go and you can ask me a private relationship question. No one else sees it. The way that this works, if you go to the link in my bio on TikTok again, or in my description, click where it says private relationship advice. You can type out your question, as many paragraphs as you want, send it in to me, and then I'll respond with a voice message that's usually 8 to 10 minutes long, answering your question or giving you some perspective if you need that, okay? So those are the three ways you can send in a question. Let's get started with our first one of the day, which will be coming from Princess in... Oh, no, we did hers. Okay, our first one comes from Pansy. Yeah, we doing pansies today. All right. Okay, seeking your advice on a friendship situation. Hi, Tommy. It's Pansy the flower again. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on a friendship situation, as I find your insights on friends and family very helpful as well. The first part is just describing the situation. Feel free to comment along as you read. About a year ago, I informed a close friendship with a girl I'll refer to as V. We clicked immediately, bonding over our candidness and vulnerability. Our friendship began intensely. We communicated frequently, discussing deeply personal topics, and ended our calls with "I love you." This is a friend you just started connecting with? Okay. However, over time, I noticed our connection styles clash significantly. V can be exceptionally straightforward and tends to lack empathy, often coming across as a textbook contrarian. While I understood she meant no harm and cared for me, this dynamic started to affect my self-esteem. By the end of August, after another moment where her critique stung, I couldn't take it anymore. Before this, we had multiple adult conversations where I told her about how her comments made me feel. So you've expressed how it was not working for you. I communicated my feelings clearly, but she responded with a lengthy message defending herself and labeled me as too sensitive. I calmly reiterated my need for space, and after that conversation, I decided to step back and not reach out, trusting my instincts. She didn't reach out either. Sounds kind of like a relationship. A month or two later, I noticed she had unfollowed me on Instagram. At first, this shocked me, but I quickly realized it wasn't worth my energy to dwell on. I hadn't unfollowed her because I thought we might reconnect eventually when I was ready. After I found that, after I found out that I unfollowed her. Wait, what? After because I thought you didn't. Okay, yeah. But I wasn't hurt at all. I just didn't care anymore. After another 2 months of silence, she sent me a New Year's Eve text expressing gratitude for our time together, despite we're no longer friends, her words. It felt somewhat disingenuous, as it seemed she had already categorized our friendship as over, but still felt obligated to send a nice message. That is kind of strange. I also wasn't sure if that was her way of testing the waters and reconnecting. So I decided to address the unfollowing in a calm and respectful manner, while also expressing gratitude, stating I was just asking for a break, but I noticed you unfollowed me. I hope there is no hard feelings. She took 2 weeks to respond, and when she did, her excuse for unfollowing me was some BS. I only follow people either professional or very close. Mind you, we started out as professional. Oh, so this was someone you... Did you say that earlier? That you were working with her? Okay, you didn't mention it here, but I guess I'm assuming you started in the workplace, maybe, because you said professional. But you guys were saying I love you, right? And now all of a sudden, you guys are not close enough to be following each other. Interesting. It left me feeling disappointed, as accountability was an essential part of friendship to me, as I valued our openness. Now for my question. We have some this is very well structured. I like this, Pansy. Very well structured. Now for my question. We have some mutual friends, particularly some of her close friends, who still engage with me on social media. How does that? Okay. Telling me I look nice, wishing me happy birthday, etc. I think, did you guys hang out in person? How many times did you guys, I wish you would have said that as well, because okay. I think they all had good impressions of me, despite only meeting me once or twice. Okay, thank you for that. At least I know how many times you met her friends. I'd like to befriend them, and no, don't do that. And hang out one-on-one. Don't do that. But I'm uncertain how to approach. Don't do that. It's weird. It'll come across weird. I'm going to tell you why. I suspect they might be unaware of the situation between V and me, and I don't want to create any awkwardness. Don't do that. Should I address the friendship breakup with them or keep it to myself if I reach out to hang out? Okay, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't do this, Pansy. And it's going to sound weird, but I'll just tell it to you straight. The problem, anytime you meet people through someone and then you're no longer friends with that someone, it creates a very weird scenario in which you're going to put them in a situation where they're kind of going to be forced to pick sides. It also creates a situation where you come across as like wanting to either be around or wanting to kind of make friends out of her friends, which the reason I say this is a bad thing is because it makes it very easy for someone to paint you out as a weirdo. So think of this similar to a breakup, like a romantic breakup. Whenever you break up with a guy, you might meet some amazing friends of his that are guys and girls. Maybe he has a whole friend group that he hangs out with that are full of guys and girls, some people that you like hanging out with. The only problem with that, though, is when you start trying to hang out or make yourself a part of the friend group now, after you're no longer with that guy or that person, it gets very easy for the person that you broke up with, that you're no longer with, to paint you out as some weirdo following him around and trying to befriend all of his friends. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've seen that happen multiple times to people who end relationships when they try to keep the friendship with the other people. And so it just becomes very drama filled and drama infested. My advice would be to keep with your friends and your group of people that you were close with and cool with before you ended your friendship with her. If you guys ever become cool again, then I'm sure you guys can all hang out again. But I feel like based on, for the most part, based on how long it seems like this lasted, you didn't say specifically, I feel like it would be better to just keep your friends to yourself and let her keep her friends to herself, that she can be on her side, instead of creating more drama out of this situation by trying to now befriend those friends. Okay. If I address, should it be before or after they agreed to meet? I did tell one of the mutual friends via DM, and she simply reacted with a emoji. So that should tell you that you're doing a lot of the progressing. Do you understand what I mean? If they're not reaching out to you to say, hey, girly, come hang out. We want to see you again. We want to spend some time with you. Da, da, da. And then maybe you explain to them the situation and whatever the case may be, and then this is the response, that's one thing. But if you're the one coming out of your way to say, let's hang out, and by the way, this happened, and then this is their response, this tells me they're not even really trying to hang out with you in particular. They might just like the fact that you're around when they're hanging out with their already existing friend, their already existing girlfriend, but it doesn't seem like they're really trying to like, oh, like we want, come to this, come to that, right? And so you have to ask yourself, are they inviting you places, or are you inviting yourself places along with them? How should I react if I happen to run into V at future events or social circles? You don't have to react or say anything if you don't want to. You don't owe her anything. Now, if you just want to keep things copacetic, you can just say hi and bye if she makes eye contact with you and comes up to you. My whole thing is, if I ever don't mess with someone and I see them out somewhere, I'm not going to go up to them. I don't care to. But if I don't have any sort of reason to be rude, if they come up to me or say hello to me, I'll have no problem saying, hey, what's up? Right. And just letting them go about their day. Right. Or if they know people that are next to me and they're just hugging everyone, saying hello to everyone, I have no problem just saying hello to them, so that to keep things copacetic and not make a huge problem out of things. But I think that that's the most you have to do. I don't think you have to go out of your way to talk to her or do anything with her. Right. I think that, yeah, that's kind of all your questions here. So I think that whenever someone does something to show you that they're taking their hands off the wheel, especially even as it relates to friends, and saying, yeah, I don't want to mess with you anymore, you allow them to live with their decision. You're not, whether it be friendships or relationships, you shouldn't be in the business of selling yourself to people on why they should be in your life. If they don't have an interest in being in your life, then let that be that. Don't beg people or ask, oh, but please, but I did do this, but then, no. If they don't want to be in your life, so be it. You always find new friends to be with and hang around that will love you and cherish you all the same. Okay. That's how you have to kind of approach things. All right. Let's go into our next question here. This comes from Just Another User. Okay. Just Another User says, I feel torn. Hi, I'm writing to you because I know you always have good perspectives on situations like this, and I really need an outside opinion. It's about my relationship with S. There are many things happening that seem contradictory, and I don't know what to make of it. He says he wants something serious, said we are a couple. He invites me to meet his friends. He wants me to meet his best friend and his wife? Okay, let's get up and take a stretch. 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 Let's just refocus, recenter here, because I'm not sure. But I tell you, boy, let me do some downward dog. Give me a second. Okay. You started it off just like that, right? Okay. He invites me to meet his friends. He wants me to meet his best friend and his wife. He says he would like us to live together and that I could move in with him. How that gonna work? At our last meeting, he expressed a desire for us to travel. Hold on, I think I saw you comment something. Did you say something at the end? best friend's wife, not his. Okay, that changes a lot. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. All right. Okay, thank you. That was see, this is why you guys have to spell check stuff, because that was very confusing. I thought that you were saying he wants you to meet his best friend and his wife. Okay. I didn't realize you meant his best friend's wife. Okay. So clearly we had a misunderstanding there. All right. Now we are understanding each other. He says he would like us to live together and that I could move in with him. At our last meeting, he expressed a desire for us to travel together. And he even bought me a pink teacup because I had mentioned before that he didn't have any. He bought a black one for himself and a pink one for me. These little gestures show that he cares. We talked about everything, and he suggested that we could do Valentine's this weekend. This, like you're talking about this week, because this message is from February 19th. Okay, this weekend that we could do, that we could go to the spa and maybe a nice dinner in a different city. So is he saying like we'll do Valentine's Day like later on, right? On the other hand, I found out that he planned a solo trip to Bali for 2.5 weeks right over my birthday. How did you find that out? He had asked me earlier if I wanted to join him, but I couldn't take such a long vacation, and he decided to go alone anyways. Wait, what's the problem with that? I'm confused here. He asked you if you wanted to go, and you couldn't go, so he went. I don't see the problem with that. He's not allowed to go. Additionally, it hurts me that he didn't organize anything for Valentine's Day. Wait. I wish you, okay. If you're able to comment real quick, please comment how long you guys have been dating, to even if you mentioned it before, to just refresh my memory and everyone else's memory. Like, how long have you been seeing this guy? Because that will also depend on the context of what I'm going to say here on the Valentine's Day thing. Okay. And he's not planning anything for my birthday either. When is your birthday? You should also state that as well. Like, how soon is that, or far away is that? Even though we'll be together around that time, he doesn't plan to do anything with me on that day, and he won't even be there. I won't hide that really hurt me. On one hand, I understand that he wants a longer vacation, but on the other hand, shouldn't things look different if he sees me as a priority? I feel like he says one thing, but his actions show something else. Also, he still follows girls on his Instagram that he said he had no problem to unfollow. On Valentine's Day, he didn't do anything for me, but he liked photos of other women posting with flowers and gifts. I'm not sure how to look at this. Maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe it's a sign that we're not on the same page when it comes to the future. It's not a sign. That's the truth. I'd really like to hear your opinion. He was also nagging that he didn't get anything from me on Valentine's Day. I didn't get anything from him without occasion. Wait, what? Oh, I think you might say I didn't get anything for him without occasion, if it wasn't an occasion. I don't know how he feels about me anymore. Let me know what you think. Did you say here at the bottom how long you guys have been together? Okay, let me answer this for the most part here until you tell me how long you guys have been together. So here's the thing. When you have to understand, if a man is not taking action for you, there's a reason for that. So I know a lot of you get Valentine's Day can be a very uncomfortable time for a lot of women. But this realization is important. If he is not choosing to spend Valentine's Day with you, there is a very clear sign of how he feels towards you. That's a choice. Now, this trip thing is a little bit more indirect, just because if he's asked you to go and you said no, and then he goes anyways, that doesn't necessarily mean that he is trying to hurt you or do anything sneaky, because he obviously asked you. But the Valentine's Day thing is definitely something. And the fact that he didn't bother to do anything for you, that tells you how he feels about you. That tells you where he stands with you. And so that coupled with some of the other things that you mentioned here, right? He also follows girls on IG that he said he had no problem unfollowing. What I'm getting the sense of is I don't think he's yet in a mental space where he's actually ready to be in a serious relationship. And you actually mentioned that as well. And the reason you did is because you're smart and intelligent and you know what it is you're experiencing and feeling. You're just looking for me to tell you if that's the real truth or if it's not. And I'm here to tell you it's absolutely the truth, what you're feeling and experiencing, which is that you guys aren't on the same page. I'm sure he talked about what he wanted or what he would like to happen or what he, how much he wanted to be with you and whatnot. But the reality of it is, if he's not going about this the same way that he said he would, if he's not taking it with the same level of seriousness that he said he would take it, then there's not much you can do about that. So your job now is to allow him, continue to give him more than enough space to show up how he chooses to show up. And if he can't show up for you properly, if he can't show up for you how you expect him to show up in a relationship and actually take this seriously, then you're just going to let this go and move on with your life. And I know that's a little bit painful, but what are you supposed to do here? Are you supposed to beg him to come on vacation? Absolutely not. Are you supposed to beg him to do Valentine's Day with you or make it up to you? Absolutely not. Are you supposed to beg him to spend your birthday with him? Absolutely not. And I would never advise you to do that, not in a million years. So if you have to do any sort of begging, any sort of asking in order to get things done, then you're already wasting a lot of time, right? So you said that you left some things out here. Cancel Valentine's Day because of our misunderstanding on the last show. So it got canceled because you guys had a misunderstanding. I've been seeing him for about 4 months now. We didn't have Valentine's, but we talked and he suggested that we could have Valentine's a week later. But obviously you're saying that this hasn't happened. The thing that upset me is that he is going on his own, but because he won't be there on my birthday, what is important to me? I really hoped he could organize something that he could be there, but he told me that he is going alone and that this will include the day of my birthday. That's why I don't know what to do. I'm upset and I don't know what to do. So I know it's going to sound weird, but there is nothing to do. If he's going to show you that and that's what he's going to choose to do, you're not going to beg. You're not going to do it and you're not going to do any of that. So I know this is going to be a really painful way to go about this, but I want you from the rest of this time on until your birthday, I want you to don't speak to him don't text him unless he texts you. Don't call him unless he calls you. Don't ask him to go anywhere or comment on any of his. Don't do anything with him unless he first reaches out to you. And then let's see how far this relationship will go if you're not doing anything, just based on his desire to progress this and push this forward. The reason I'm saying this is going to be a painful thing to do is because you're going to realize one of two things. Either you're going to realize he actually does want you and wants to pursue you, or, which is more likely, you're going to realize that once you kind of just let go of trying to beg him for things or ask him for things, he doesn't seem very keen on doing anything for you. And that is the best and most clear answer you can ever receive from a man. When you leave him be to make the choice that he wants to make as it relates to taking care of you and the relationship, and he does nothing for you, that is exactly what he feels for you. Nothing. I know that's painful, but that's my best piece of advice to you now is to let everything be in the sense of not reaching out at all for any reason. And let's see if he is even bothered enough to say, hey, we didn't go out for Valentine's Day. Let me plan our Valentine's Day after the fact. Hey, we didn't, I'm going to be gone for your birthday. Let me think of something nice to do for you for your birthday, right? If he's not going to be prompting to do that or saying that or talking about that or taking action on that, then you don't beg for any of that, right? Okay, let's go on to our next question here. This one comes from YOY, all right. Did my high standards ruin my friendship? Okay, interesting. There's a lot of friendship questions today. Hey, Tomisin, I had an argument with a friend that I think might have ended our friendship, and I wanted your opinion on some of the things that were discussed. For reference, I'm a 31-year-old female, and I've been single for a few years, and I've been having trouble finding a man to date. I'm looking for someone who's older than me and is financially stable and owns a house since I want to start a family in the near future. Huh. Okay, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. My friend met a guy in a Discord server that lives in the US. I live in Canada. She knows I want to move there, so it would be ideal to meet someone who already lives there. She started talking to this guy who's single, and she thought he would be a good match for me. She told me about him since I've been watching your shows. Wait, what? I was already unimpressed with the situation since I know it's not good to let your friends approach a guy for you. Okay, I see now. Not to mention it's long distance, so twice as bad. Yeah. My friend has done stuff like this in the past, but I wasn't watching your shows back then. I didn't want to be rude to my friend and tell her that I didn't want her to talk to him since she approached for me. So I told her that I will speak to him on my own terms, which is exactly what you should be doing anytime you find a guy interesting. First of all, you should speak to him on your own terms, yes, and he should be the one coming to you. Never let your friend car salesman you like your used car on the block and try and sell you to another guy. It's not. Don't ever let another woman do that. I know girls do that because they just want to see you win, and some girls, they just want to see you be with someone and be in a relationship. Doesn't set you off on the right foot, okay? She told me she has already told him about me and told him to message me, which he did. No, that's not how you want to start things off. I talked to the guy mostly to be polite, and it came up in the conversation that he lives with roommates and doesn't own a house or a car. He's also 27, which is younger than my preference. I asked him if he was planning on buying a house soon, but he said he needs to buy a car first. It didn't seem like he is in a financial position to start a family soon. So I told my friend that he didn't meet my standards for the reasons I mentioned above. Perfectly fine. Keep in mind, my friend already knows my standards since we've discussed it before. Surprisingly, my friend got upset and told me he's closer to buying a house than I am and that I need to get over myself. Oh, wow. Okay. I asked her if she thinks it's unreasonable to want to date a guy who has a house and a car, and she says, it is reasonable, but it's unreasonable to want to date a guy who owns a house because men who are financially stable and own a house only want to date women who are in their 20s, not women who are 30 plus. I see what's happening here. My friend is in her 20s and married, by the way. Okay. This says a lot. All right. Thank you for this information. She said, I need to be, wait, how old are you? Let me just mark this. Let me see. How old did you say you are? You're 31. Okay. All right. All right. All right. We're going to break this down. Let me get a drink of water. We're going to break this down. I see what's happening here. Okay. My friend is in her 20s and married, by the way. She said I need to be realistic, that it shouldn't matter if he lives with roommates since he's saving money and being responsible, and that most men like to live with friends if they're single. That doesn't really make sense to me. She said if you're actually serious about wanting to have kids, you can't keep up with these unrealistic expectations. I asked her how you are supposed to raise kids or manage a family without a house or a car. She ignored me and said she was done trying to help me. I didn't even ask her to. And that she regrets telling the guy about me or getting involved, and that she hopes I figure things out one day and she wishes me the best with it. I tried to talk to her about it and ask why she's upset, and she just said she's not upset, but she's done talking about this. I expressed to her that I felt disrespected by the way she was speaking to me, but all she said was that I should reject a guy if I'm not interested, to which I didn't respond. I feel quite disrespected by what my friend said and the way she reacted to me being honest about my standards. I honestly don't think I want to be friends with her or speak to her again, but I wanted to know your thoughts on a couple things. By the way, chat, any of you that send in messages, I love when you do this. You take your message and then you basically ask the point questions that you specifically want answered. I love when you do. It makes my life so easy, makes it so easy to understand for everyone and follow. So thank you so much for this why, oh why. Okay. Why did she get upset when I didn't ask her to set me up and wasn't rude about not being interested in the guy she picked? Here's the funny thing about this friendship dynamic with women who are married. That's why I say I see what's happening here. One of the tough parts about being the single woman with a woman that's married is she doesn't understand what it's like to be you anymore. And I say, like, it sounds very mean, but it's unfortunately the reality. When a woman is secure with her man, she's got a nice ring on her finger. She goes home every day to a man that loves her and cherishes her, takes care of her, takes care of the bills, does things for her, right? There's a lot of security that comes with that. So what ends up happening is after a while of being so secure, a woman who's married and in a happy relationship can be so deep in her feminine, she actually forgets what it's like to be on the front lines at war, right? And she forgets what it's like to like actually have to deal with men and filter them and figure out who is the best for you. So sometimes they, and this can be a thing that happens with both men and women. Sometimes when your friend can be so good in her own relationship and secure in her own relationship, she forgets that like selling you to other men actually diminishes your value and doesn't give you a better chance of being pursued in a way that will actually lead to you having a successful relationship. And it usually happens because when you're so far out of the dating game, you don't realize how certain things must be done and the order of operations. And so instead of her helping you, she aids you in looking more and more desperate. Unfortunately, right? That's part of the problem. Now, the reason that she was probably upset specifically was because she probably felt like, oh, she went out of her way to do something for you, only for you to kind of reject what she probably felt was a good option. And I'm going to kind of explain this to you in a little bit more depth. You're going to ask in your other question, I'm going to answer, okay? Are my standards too high? I'm looking for a guy who's older and financially stable because I want someone mature to start a family with, and I want my kids to be taken care of. No, I'm going to say two things, and they're going to sound a little bit opposing to each other. What you're asking for is not unrealistic. However, I think that your focus is very fixated in places that will make it so that you will actually miss out on good men because you have in your mind you only want one type of thing. Let me explain what I mean by that. You kept saying in your message, I'm really looking for a man with a car, which is fine. Obviously, you want him to be able to get around. But you also said, I want a man with a house who is either buying a house. I didn't know whether you're mentioning buying or renting. But here's the thing. A man could be capable of purchasing a house or capable of transitioning his life to that place. He just might not be there right now. But in the next coming years, he might be in that place, and that might be where he's working towards. So I think that what you really want is you want a particular mindset out of a man. I'm not saying that you should lower your standards to someone who is living on the street and that just wants to be somewhere in life eventually. But what I am saying is I think there's a middle ground between finding a man who's already made it, already got his life perfect, already got everything he needs, and finding a man who's working towards those goals and is getting better and better every single day and has some of the things you're looking for, like, for example, already has a car and maybe already has his own apartment, but he is definitely working towards in the next few years being able to buy a house. That, I think, is a more, I guess we could say, realistic middle ground that you can still get what you want eventually. It just might not be in an already made package for you where you just meet him and he's already perfect. You understand what I'm saying? Because your friend is right to an extent that a lot of the men who already have everything perfect, think about this idea. I already have a big house. I already have everything I need. I already have multiple cars. I already have all my finances, everything taken care of. Yes, those men are going to have a lot more options. That's just the reality of life, okay? And I'm not saying I don't know what you look like. I don't know what your vibe is. I don't know anything about you. But the thing is, when those type of men have so many more options because they're much more desirable in the dating marketplace, of course, it's going to be a little bit harder to get those men committed to you. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's just something to think about, right? You can either get someone who's ready-made, exactly how you want him, right? But the problem is the same thing that you desire in a man is the same thing that a lot of other women desire in men as well. So you also have to be thinking about Are those men going to be wanting and have a deep desire to commit to me? I'm not saying it's impossible, but something to think about. I also want you to think about, is what I'm looking for capable of being in a man who just might not be there at this current moment? And is there a way where I can find men who have the right mindset, have the right outlook, and are actually working towards and can realistically themselves get to the place that I am looking for a man to be? Okay. And so that, I think, is the best place for you to kind of explore your dating options, and figure out who would be the best person for you. And I also understand that you are 30 yourself, right? You're 31. And so you're in a different place mentally than a lot of the other guys you might be meeting. The other little bit of advice I probably would want to give you is, based on what you want, you probably want to be dating above your age range. I don't think it makes sense for you to be dating any man under 30, especially based on what you want, right? Because most men under 30 won't be looking for that. Do you think it's true that guys who are financially stable only want to date women under 30? I think that they have more options. So I think that they tend to skew towards younger women generally. I don't think it's impossible for a man who's financially stable and has more options to want to date someone who is 30, right? A difference between 30 and 29 is 1 year, right? So I don't think it's that solely specific on just age, but I definitely do think those men with more options or plentiful options will skew younger. Yes. I think that best for you would probably be to look for someone who's older than 30. First of all, you'll be more likely to meet a man who's more established, which is what you're basically saying you want, right? You want a man who's established, but just understand, you're going to have to do a lot of filtering. And you'll also have to, I hate to say this like this, but this is honestly an important part of your question. You're going to have to be honest with yourself about your own desirability in the marketplace, okay? Like the dating marketplace. We all have a desirability in the dating landscape, right? Some of us are more desirable than others based on different factors. You have to be honest with yourself about your level of desirability, because trust me, there are some really good looking, really smart, intelligent, capable, desirable 30-year-old women. There are definitely some. And there are also some less desirable younger women. So it's not so much about age is part of the factor, but it's also not the only thing. So you have to be honest with yourself about your kind of desirability on that scale there, and say to yourself, okay, is a man who has a lot of options actually still going to be attracted to me and the things that I bring to the table? If you're saying and being honest with yourself and saying, I don't know if that's the case, then maybe you might have to change a little bit of your standards. I just have to be super real with you. Now, if you're saying to yourself, no, I bring a lot to the table. I've got my dump truck. I'm looking good. I got, my stuff together. I know what I want. I'm smart. I'm intelligent, all that good stuff. Then you're probably in a different place, and you can definitely have no problem attracting those type of men with a lot of options. This comes with, the unfortunate part of this question is I can't really give you that answer. You have to kind of be self-aware enough to answer that question for yourself. Part of dating and dating properly is also understanding your desirability in the marketplace, in the dating landscape, to figure out what you can attract and actually get committed to you as well. I have to be real. I can't lie. I can't pretend. So when your friend is saying, oh, these men that are established and stable, they're only desiring women who are under 30, not necessarily. They want desirable women. Age is part of those factors. It's not the only factor though. So you're going to have to factor in all the other things and ask yourself, what is the middle ground where I can date someone that will actually want to be committed to me, right? But also date someone that is going to be in a position that I actually want for my life and my relationships down the road. Okay? Does that make sense to you there, right? Someone says that, thank you, Tomisin, for being honest. Make yourself desirable financially too. Like I say, guys, I want to give you guys real honest advice. And, part of my advice when we're talking about desirability as it relates to men, we're obviously going to have to talk about your looks and your physical traits as well, because that's going to play a role in your desirability. I can't lie to you guys just because we're on a show here and I love you all so much, right? Let's hop into our next question here. So I believe I skipped one that was from LP Baby. Okay, so that one was answered. Let me make sure I unmark this. Was this one answered? Yes, it was. Let me unmark that. Okay, so I think this one was the one that I didn't get to answer here. All right. Let's scroll up here and we'll read out this question. All right. A man's 5-year plan. His answer. Hi, Tommy. I would like your advice, please. I asked the 34-year-old man, the New Year's Eve bachata guy, I'm 33, during day 2, what his 5-year plan is, and he says he doesn't know because things change all the time. He said he honestly hasn't flushed out a 5 or 10-year plan. That's not good. He told me he can't really predict the future. That's also not good. The nuance here is I asked him this question mainly in the context of his hobbies. Okay, so that's a little bit different. I don't really recall the details, which consist of triathlons. Okay. He said because he loves being out and about, outdoor, and he loves being active and can't imagine not stopping his lifestyle. But he says that life can change. He's open to changes due to aging, injuries, and new life goals. Okay, so he's talking specifically about his hobbies in that sense, not about his overall life. Because he told me he had to adjust his life goals, but how do you... Wait, what? How do you do all of those things? I think you meant to say. I'm disappointed because I feel like this is something... to consider, but I feel like his answer was kind of valid because he said life changes and his life has changed so much, so it's hard to have a plan. No. Now, I think you should follow up on another date that you guys have. I think you should follow this up with a question of like, what do you just want your life to be? Not in relation to hobbies, but like, what do you want to live? What do you want to be doing, in a couple years? What type of jobs do you want to be working, right? What do you want your just personal life to look like? A little bit away from just the hobbies, but also to like living situation and things like that. I think that that's a way to get a more detailed answer because it does worry me a little bit. It make me be a little bit taken aback because we're not talking about a 22-year-old, right? We're talking about a 34-year-old man. The idea that he's saying, oh, I just don't have any plan for the next few years of my life. Like we're getting to a really pivotal point in life where in the next 5 years, right, he's going to be 39. So at 39, when you're approaching 40, like, whoa, like I'm assuming he doesn't have any children because I don't think you've ever mentioned him having children, right? So we're kind of at a crossroads here, right? By the time you've approached 40, your life is kind of like set in stone. Who you are is set in stone. What you're going to be doing is set in stone. It's going to be very difficult to make drastic changes or pivots at that time. And a 34-year-old man should have a plan. I'm not saying that everything has to go absolutely perfect. And I'm not saying that he has to know down to every last detail and stitch in his life what it's going to be for the future. But there should be some desired outcome for these next 5 years. I don't think a 34-year-old man should be living on a we'll see how it goes basis. I don't think that that's good. Okay. Still, I am making the decision to getting to know him more before I make my final decision on continuing to date him. I was rooting for him to have a plan for his life. You should be. He's 34. He should have a plan. Some sort of plan or semblance of a plan of where he wants to be and where he wants to go. That's troubling for me. He is very dedicated, disciplined. A dedicated and disciplined man should have a plan. That's how that works. Because he does triathlons, has completed grad school. So I know. So this is another thing that you mentioned here. So let's even break down this logic here. If I love triathlons or marathons, right? We'll even break it down in marathons, something that everyone can understand. If I'm a marathon runner and I love marathons to my core, it's one of the things that gets me up in the morning that I love doing and love practicing. One of the easiest answers to a simple question like, where do I see myself 5 years or what do I want for the next 5 years would be, hey, I want to run a 20K. 20K, is that even a marathon? Or if you're living in the United States, I want to run a 50-mile, marathon. I want to run the Boston Marathon. I want to run the whatever marathon. I want to do this trail. I want to run cross country. Whatever the case may be, right? if you have a passion of yours, then you're going to have goals that you want for the near and even distant future. That's a natural occurrence. So even if he didn't have a necessary answer of, oh, I want to be in this exact place at this exact time, even as it relates to triathlons, a man with a plan should say, I love triathlons. I really want to do this triathlon at some point in the next few years. I really want to go to this place and try this out. I've been seeing it the whole time and I've always wanted to go there. I've always wanted to run this race. I've always wanted to run this triathlon. Like, that should be one of the goals there. That's why it's confusing to me how he can be really passionate, dedicated, and disciplined, but not have any sort of goal in sight here. That's very strange to me. So I know he can commit to hard things and crushes his goals. But then what are the goals? That's why I'm like, what are the goals? He wakes up early, has a strict schedule, has a good job, been at his job for 3 to 5 years, is consistently communicating with me, planning dates, and being sweet and kind, thoughtful to me, and curious about me. Oh, also to add, another thing to consider, he likes to drink socially a bit, 3 to 4 beers. It's a lot because he's not that tall, okay? And he cusses a lot. Being loud, a big cusser, and social drinker don't sound like a good pair, right? Quick thoughts, please. I mean, yeah, no one's going to be perfect that you meet. It depends on what is okay with you, what you can compromise on, and what are no's for you. So, for example, for me, I don't drink or smoke at all. So my partner that I choose is not going to be drinking or smoking at all. For me, that's not even a compromise. But for everyone, it's a little bit different. If you're someone that you like to drink and enjoy a little bit of a smoke here and there, then obviously someone who does that is not going to be a problem. Now you have to gauge where is the limit there, where it becomes overboard, right? Cursing is not bad if you're a cursor yourself and you don't mind that. Now, if it gets to a point where you're just like, oh, he gets belligerently drunk, then you probably have a problem here. But this is kind of a question for yourself on how is your lifestyle and what is something that can work for you and what is something that doesn't work for you, okay? May you please put your Strict Players Club dad hat on and give me your best insight, please. And please keep it real like you always do. What should I consider? Any other great questions I can ask to probe? He is not going to waste my time. Date 6 is tomorrow or soon, I think. Kindly advise. You can be stern too. Thank you so much. My advice to you is rather than asking the 5 to 10 year plan question, I just want you to ask him. So, for example, where do you want to live? Like, what would one of your ideal places to be to move like to at some point in your life? Like, where do you want to live? Then you can ask him, what type of house do you want to buy? Or do you even want to live in a house? Like, if you were in your perfect world, like, would you be living in a house or an apartment, or where would it be, right? And the reason I say that is I just want you to keep asking questions of, like, in your perfect world, where would it be? How would it be? What would you be doing? And this will give you a better idea of, like, what he wants for himself. Like, what are some of his deeper desires? And I want you to listen closely to what he talks about his perfect world would be in terms of what he wants for himself. Now, if you ask him all of these questions, like, where would the perfect place for you to be to live is? What would the perfect job for you be? What would the perfect position be for you? What would and you're asking him this, and consistently his answer is, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I haven't thought about it, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Then you actually have some things to consider here. Because the fact that he doesn't even know what is perfect for him, what is ideal for him, worries me. Because how are you or him supposed to get to that place or get to that outcome if he is supposed to be the man leading you and he doesn't even know what his desired outcome is? Very, very important that men understand what their desired outcome is. You can't work towards anything in a relationship if you don't have a desired outcome. The desired outcome is what then stems from, okay, how do we reverse engineer the desired outcome and figure out what actions we need to take to get to that desired outcome? If that doesn't exist, you can't work towards anything. So the reason I'm saying this, LPB, I don't want to sound your alarms, but these are questions that need to be asked on the next date. And you need to get a clear answer of what is ideal for him. Just in general, what is perfection for him in his perfect world, perfect life? What does that even look like? He should have some sort of answer for that. If he is drawing blanks, I'm very worried about whether or not he even has any sort of desired outcome. Because then how are we supposed to copy and paste that for you, right? What is his desired outcome with you then, right? And I don't want you to ask that, but it usually mirrors that, right? So that's why I'm saying that you want to ask this question and listen very closely when he's answering that question, okay? All right, let's go to our next one here. I'll make sure I go down as far as I'm supposed to go, okay? All right, this one was answered. Lack of communication answered. This one is an LP baby. We'll just pin this one. Brazilian baby girl, I think we did. All right, we did hers. No, we didn't. Okay. Did we? Okay. All right, Brazilian baby girl. How can I frame this without lying? Hi, Tom and chat. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I've been going on some dates lately, but I always feel insecure when men ask about my last relationship and why it ended. My last relationship was kind of embarrassing, and I don't even like to remember it. I was wondering how I can frame this story without looking like I have really low standards and I don't know how to choose a man, but I don't want to lie. For context, my previous relationship lasted 2.5 years. I was in my early 20s and he was 30. I was young and stupid, so I didn't know any better. He was unemployed and lived with his grandparents. Okay, wow. He didn't pay any attention to his appearance, had disheveled hair. Okay. I'm assuming you just mean messy. Smoked weed and cigarettes like a chimney and had basically no ambition other than smoking weed on the beach. He wanted to be a comic artist and I believed with all my heart that he was going to get his life together. I thought he only needed some support since he had some mental health issues. With time, I got really frustrated because he just seemed to be stuck. It got to a point where I just felt completely turned off by him and broke up with him. It's been 3 years and we don't talk anymore. But I found out this man is unemployed to this day. He's probably 36 at this point. He was kind, intelligent, extroverted, funny, really, really loved me. Of course he did. He had lots of time. He's unemployed. And never treated me badly. Of course he didn't. He had lots of time. He's unemployed. He would take me out from time to time to where? The beach. And he once bought my favorite flowers for Valentine's Day. With what money? With his grandparents' credit card. But I just couldn't take it anymore because I was studying and grinding to make a good life for myself. But it just seemed like he couldn't do the same. I want to travel, have a family, a nice apartment, and a car. It all costs money. Long story short, since I broke up with him, I wondered, how did I allow myself to have such low standards and accept so little? So I decided to work on myself first. I spent the past 3 years completely single and doing exactly that. I've been studying and working hard, going to therapy, going to the gym, developing social skills, hobbies, working on my self-esteem, and figuring out what I really want. I still have work to do. We always have, but I've came a long way and I'm very proud of my personal development so far. Now I feel like I'm ready for a new relationship and I've been going on some dates with some men that fit my new high standards since the beginning of the year. However, I don't know how to frame why your last relationship ended question without looking like I'm the kind of naive, low self-esteem girl who would basically accept less than the bare minimum and is not used to getting princess treatment. I'm definitely not that girl anymore. How can I frame this without lying and still highlight the nice things he would do for me, like taking me out and buying flowers, even if it was from time to time? Thank you so much. So it's funny. You don't have to lie about anything. And everything that you would say is actually in your message here. So Brazilian baby girl, I'll tell you exactly how you frame this. When he asked about why your last relationship ended, you're going to say, yeah, so I came to a point of realization because I'm someone who I really focus on my growth and my development as an individual. And I want to make sure that I'm always trying to get better or improve in something. Like you mentioned in your message, we all have something to improve on at all times. And I got to a point, you mentioned it here, and I got to a point in my life where I realized me and the guy that I was dating were no longer on the same page because I was focused on my growth and getting better and improving, and he was stagnating. He was becoming comfortable. He didn't have a desire to grow. And it's just not going to work for me if I'm not with a partner who doesn't share that same desire to grow and develop themselves. And then once I got to the point that I realized we weren't on that same page, I ended the relationship and the relationship was over. And now He doesn't have any contact with me. I don't talk to him. I don't message him. He can't message me. He can't call me. He can't reach out to me for any reason whatsoever, because I'm someone that when I get through a situation and I move forward, I truthfully move forward. Then you can implement. I spent, like you said here, the last 3 years doing this, working hard on myself, growing in this way, growing in that way. And I'm in such a different mental state. This is exactly what you're going to say. I'm in such a different mental state than I was back then, that it's not even this like the same person. And I know that I've done so much growing that I could never be with someone like that ever again. And I just know who I am now, and I'm even more sure of myself now. And I know exactly where I need to be, and it just guaranteed is not with him or a man like him. Now you've just set the stage for a situation that seems like I made the decision that I knew was necessary to make at the time. You've also made it clear that you and him weren't aligned, and that, you know, even though he did nice things for you or whatever the case may be, you just came to that realization. And once you came to that realization, you moved on with your life completely. And also setting that caveat that that bum of a man has absolutely no access to you whatsoever. It's very important to add that in, just so that he knows you're, what's the word I'm looking for? You're on the upper echelon, and men below a certain threshold, they can't even say hello to you, right? They don't get your attention whatsoever, whether it's an ex, a past partner, or whatever, right? So you're basically setting the standard that, hey, I'm here now. So any man that falls below, you know, where I'm at is not even going to be able to say hello to me, not going to be able to text me. So I don't keep guys around for fun. I don't keep guys around for the vibes. I don't keep guys around because I'm lonely or need someone to talk to. No. Even my ex, he don't have no access to me, right? So that's how you present that in a way where it's like, yeah, you know, I went through some things. We all have growing to do, but I've grown so much in the past 3 years. Who I was in that relationship, I will never be again. And I will never, you know, accept that or be in a place like that where I'm allowing those things to happen, or be so misaligned with someone that I'm in a relationship with, right? Does that make sense? Okay. I think that's the best way to go about it. And I think when you do it like that, you don't have to lie or even twist the truth, because all the things that you said there is good, but you're framing the situation in a way that makes you look very self-aware, very confident in your decision making and what you want and who you know you are. And it also comes across in the attractive way that I know you want to come across when you go on your dates, not in the naive, oh, I don't know what I'm looking for, everyone gets to use me type of way, right? We don't want you to come across that way. Okay. Let's hop into our other question. I thought I skipped one that was way down here. I guess not. Okay, I guess I got two more. Question to clarify. Okay. Do we do? Yeah, we did that one. The LP presented. Okay. Girly girl. All right. Trust issues, girly girl says. Okay, girly girl, you got some trust issues here. Hi, Tomisin. I'm in a relationship with my boyfriend since August of 2024. I am 26 and he is 29. We are now at the 5-month mark in our relationship, serious and claimed relationship. I met his friends, his family, etc. Tomisin, I have trust issues. I did follow every piece of advice you gave us. But I still do, but I still have trust issues. I don't really have a reason to have them, but I still do. So you're talking about an internal issue. Okay. When I say I don't have a reason, it's because he always pursues me, checks up on me, and I have his location, which he forgot I have, by the way, got my back. Oh, okay. Nothing really to be anxious about. I don't think he does shady things, but I still have trust issues. I'm trying not to show him, but this morning he told me, what do you think of me going on a solo trip to Thailand for vacation? And I didn't like this at all. I told him that I didn't want him to go. Mind you, there was this girl that flew him there and paid for everything during his trip. Wait, what? What do you mean? There was this girl that flew him there and paid for everything during his trip. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? But flew him there. What do you mean by that? I'm confused. Then I said, so you are going to see that B word again? Oh, you're saying so he's been there before. And when he was there before, a girl flew him there. Okay. Okay. Obviously, he responded that he won't see her. He doesn't care about her, blah, 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 blah. He just wanted to go on vacation because he likes it there a lot. Of course, he is telling me what I wanted to hear. I did ask many questions about that girl, where they stand and all. It seems clear and done with that girl. She was a fling. I think they still follow each other. I'm not sure about this info. Another thing about her is that apparently she was obsessed with him. Now that we know these informations and he wants to go there for vacation, I don't like it at all. Also, unfortunately, I can't go with him. I'm here on my visa and my visa has expired. So if I want to travel out the US, I must first go to my home country and request a new visa, which is costly and time consuming. And I can't necessarily do it all. Also, side note, I have never checked his Instagram followers. I don't want to be that girl. Otherwise, it would drive me crazy. His followers slash following are up to 900. Thompson, I am in the anxious state and I have no idea if I should trust him or telling him that I don't want him to go. Forbidding something to him makes me feel like I am a pick-me. I think he must say pick-misha. So then after our conversation, I told him, you do you, please go. But did you say it in a sassy way where you sound hurt? But obviously I'm mad. If he really wants to go and I really feel insecure, I might have to end things with him, which is not the goal though. Should I sit back, relax, and let go, or stand on business and still refusing to let him go? Okay, girly girl, I'm going to tell you what to do here. Now, I actually think that what you're concerned about is actually kind of a valid reason to be concerned in a particular way. I think that the next conversation you have with him, because he's your boyfriend, right? The next conversation you have with him should be, why does he want to go to Thailand? And what made him specifically just, come across this like now? Like, what made him say, now I want to go to Thailand? Like, I want to plan a trip there. And the reason I'm saying that is just, I'm not saying you accuse him of anything, but try and get an understanding of like, why does he want to go on a solo trip? Like, what is he trying to get out of the experience? And you don't have to ask it in a malicious way. Just be like, what do you want to do in Thailand? Like, what do you want to go see? Or what do you want to you just want like a change of scenery? This is the other thing, right? Because it's like, is he taking vacation because he's stressed from work? Is he taking vacation because he needs a change of scenery? Is he taking a vacation because he wants to see some things, learn some things, right? The reason that I say that is because you want to figure out what is he trying to extract from the experience. It will also tell you a lot about why he's going there in the first place. If he says something to you like, my life's been really mundane and boring, and I need something interesting and stimulating, then you also should ask yourself, is he referring to our relationship as well? Why does he feel the need to like go somewhere to just bring some excitement into his life? I'm not saying that someone can't want to do that, but you have to ask yourself deeper questions of the deeper rooted meaning to that. Because if someone's dating you, it usually is natural that, hey, if I want to go somewhere and it's not a guy's trip, right? Because it would be different if you said he was going to Thailand with his guys, right? That's a totally different thing, right? Than you trying to force your way into that. But if he's saying he specifically just wants to go alone, there's a reason for that, right? It's not just meant to be a guy trip. And I'm saying that because if he's saying he wants to go alone specifically, and there are going to be no guy friends there, but he's not saying, hey, why don't we work on getting your visa so we can travel? Why don't we work on doing this so we can go to this place together? If he was saying that, and then you were saying, oh, I can't go, I can't go, I can't go, and he got frustrated to the point where he just said, all right, forget it, I'll just go by myself, that's a totally different story. But if he never really even asked you to go together, and he never even bothered to bring it up, the idea of you guys going together, and he just decided for himself that he wants to go by himself, that honestly is a little bit of a red flag that I would want you to ask some more questions of, because it's natural for someone in a relationship to say, if I do go on vacation, I would like to go with my partner. The idea of saying I'm in a relationship, but I would like to go on this trip by myself is quite strange behavior. Just when we talk about the logic train, that logic train doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, like I said, if he's already asked you multiple times and you said, yeah, I can't do this, my visa is too much work, that's totally different. Because now you've aided he's obviously expressed wanting to go with you, you've turned him down, and now he kind of has no other options because he'll basically be stuck there and not going if you don't ever go and get your stuff done. Now, the other question I kind of have for you, which is a little bit unrelated, is why don't you go and get your stuff done? Like getting your visa and all this stuff done. Like these are important documents for you to have. You're an adult. Okay. I hate to do like a dad speech to you, but you're an adult. Like you need to have your documents in order as an adult. I'm not sure why you're just allowing things to expire that are very important to your documentation, living in the US and not getting to those things or tending to those things. Okay. The reason I'm saying that is because like you're right now, your focus is so much on him that you're neglecting things that should be important to you for your own life. Like you're not married to this guy. And I don't know what his level of documentation is, but you need to take care of your visa. Like you realize you're putting yourself in a very precarious situation, not taking care of your visa, and you're not married to him, right? Like he's not like he's an American citizen. You can rely on his citizenship to keep you there. Go figure out your life, right? Take care of your stuff so that you're like, instead of focusing all your energy just solely on him, right? I'm not saying that you don't have an issue here or you shouldn't look into this or ask questions, but like this should be done for you. Like you're an adult woman. Okay. So do this for yourself. Now, the other thing here is, yes, I do want you to ask some questions about why he wants to go and figure out what that answer is, because I'm worried that he either is going for some sort of excitement, right? Even if it's not to see the girl, right? Which he may be lying about. It could be about the girl, or he's going for some sort of excitement or change of scenery. The problem with those things is if he's looking for some sort of excitement and he's going by himself, it's not going to look good for your relationship. If he's looking for some sort of change of scenery, that also communicates to me that maybe something in your relationship is not working for him or not making him feel mentally or physically stimulated, that he needs some sort of like change here. And so I feel like the root of your actual issue here is actually asking a question about your relationship to figure out why this has become a thing. Because trips in themselves aren't bad. Boys trips or girls trips in themselves aren't bad. But solo trips, when you have a partner, are a little bit strange because most people would have a desire to go on a trip with their partner. So to have some sort of desire to go on the trip without your partner is strange. And I like what B said here in this last part, which I think should be addressed. You can't control him. So after you ask your questions, if he tells you, look, I just want to go because I like the vibes or whatever the case may be, let him go. And let's see what happens after he comes back from the trip. When he goes on the trip, if he actually follows through with it, I don't want you to text him. If he doesn't text you, I don't want you to call him if he doesn't call you. And I know this sounds painful because he's your boyfriend. But the reason I'm saying this is outside of just making sure he landed safely and things like that. I don't want you to try and flood this time with texting and calling him to try and make sure he's not doing anything. I want you to see for yourself, is he really going to go on a whole trip to Thailand and not reach out to me once? And not text me or call me or update me on what's going on once? Because if he does do that, then that tells you a lot about where his mind is, right? He's going on a solo trip, and on the solo trip, he's not bothering to reach out to you. That tells you exactly where his mind is. And if he does that, my advice to you would probably just to be to end the relationship, because I don't think that in a real world, any boyfriend goes on a solo trip and doesn't reach out to their girlfriend and talk to them on a regular basis. I just don't think that anyone who really loves their partner does that. So if he does do that, I think it's a very clear sign of where he's at in terms of his mind state and mind frame towards the relationship with you. Okay? All right, chat. That's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether it be a free question, a premium question, or a private question, you can ask all of those by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. For those of you who are wanting to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head on the top left corner of the screen. It is my name, Tomisin_Tub. For those of you who are watching me on YouTube, it's also in my description there. You can find it at the bottom of my Instagram. And for those of you who want to rewatch the show from start to finish, maybe you missed some parts, maybe it came late, all of this live show is going to be available on my YouTube channel. Just go up top, say where it says my name, Tomisin. That's how you spell it on YouTube. You'll be able to see when you click on my YouTube page, go into the live section. Oh, there's Go Plants. Go into the live section, and then you'll see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. and you'll have the YouTube chat and the TikTok chat embedded in the video, so you won't miss a second of conversation that we have on the show, okay? Until we meet again, which will be on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because my days just right now, just temporarily, is going to be Mondays and Thursdays while I add some things to the show and build some really amazing, awesome things up. So for now, it's going to be Mondays and Thursdays. So I'm going to see you again on Monday next week. Until we meet again, I bid you adieu. At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I said that. I bid you adieu. Hasta la vista, sayonara, adios, ciao, salam, bauni. I said hasta la vista. Arrivederci. Is there anything else? Au revoir. Bon voyage! And I'll see you again on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will be posting lots on my YouTube page. So make sure you're in our Discord so you get those notifications and you're subscribed to me on YouTube. I'll see you again live on Monday. I love you so much. Have a great rest of your